Chapter 5947. Filing a complaint. When President Gu saw the image on the shadow stone, his head buzzed. This troublemaker had actually come prepared? No wonder she had ignored those students who had gone to the primeval institution to cause trouble. He had thought that this troublemaker had changed his personality, but it turned out that he had long been prepared to file a complaint. When he saw the content on the shadow stone, not to mention the short and hot-tempered old man, even the tall old man was so angry that his face turned ashen. Although President Gu had previously mentioned that the Primeval Academy's territory had been taken over by the Alchemy Division and the Talisman Seal Division, hearing about it and seeing it with one's own eyes were two completely different things. Especially when he saw the drama on the Primeval Academy's main gate and the mess at the entrance. How could he not be angry? Not to mention that there was also Hei Shinjio, who was adding fuel to the fire beside him. President Gu, who had a strong desire to live, saw that the situation was not good and quickly shifted the blame. Seniors, please calm down. The previous president was the one who occupied the territory of the Primeval Institution. I also want to make things right, but I can't defeat the 6 chancellors by myself. I can only maintain the current situation. However, I still take care of Yin Qingqing and Ding Wenru. After saying this, President Gu desperately winked at Hei Shinjio. Hei Shinjio found it funny in her heart, but she still said, "Master, President Gu really treats us well. Otherwise, we would have been expelled by the 6 chancellors." President Gu looked at Yin Chujio gratefully and continued, "Senior, although I am the president, I am still under the control of the 6 chancellors. There is nothing I can do." The short old man did not really want to beat President Gu up. He was so angry that he smashed the chairs and tables in the room into dust, which eased his anger slightly. "This is outrageous. I'm so angry. Call those 6 little bastards over. I want them to give me a good explanation," the short old man said angrily. President Gu wiped the cold sweat on his head and said, "Senior, now is the time for the grand competition. If we go to war, it will definitely affect the morale. Why don't we wait until we return to the academy?" "Affect my ass. We will lose anyway," the short old man said angrily. "Master, how can you raise the prestige of others and destroy the spirit of our own family? Besides, only 3 chancellors came this time, and 3 of them are guarding the house in the academy. If you want to clean it up together. We can't miss a single one. Besides if the people of the Divine Enlightenment Academy know about it, they will laugh at us. So why don't we wait until we get back to clean them up and teach them a good lesson?" Hei Shinjio advised. The short old man's heart skipped a beat when he heard that they couldn't expose their dirty laundry. Yes, if Chi Chun of the Divine Enlightenment Academy found out about this, he would be laughed at. It was better to go back to the academy. Although you are a good-for-nothing, you have some brains and are much better than some people. President Gu, who had been shot in the chest. At this moment, Hei Shinjio gave Ding Wenru a look, and the 2 of them cleaned up the ruins in the room. Hei Shinjio took out tables, chairs, teapots, and pastries from her storage ring, and said respectfully, "Masters, please take your seats." The 2 elders were quite satisfied with their tactfulness. The short elder glared at President Gu, who looked like a wooden stake, and said, "Watch and learn. You are like a block of wood." President Gu, who was shot again. The short elder drank half a cup of tea before saying, "Little trash, since you've already entered the primeval branch, we can only reluctantly acknowledge your identity as students of the primeval branch. However, don't go along with the flow and address us as master. I won't accept a disciple of a trash like you." Chapter 5948. Was there a good-for-nothing like me? Yin Chujio blinked her eyes and said, "But, you even drank my master's tea. You can't deny it, can you?" The short old man almost threw the teacup in his hand at Hei Xinjia's face. He had seen shameless people before, but this was the first time he had seen such a shameless person. "Don't play tricks on me. I would never take in a student with such a poor aptitude like you," the short old man said with a twitch of his lips. The tall old man did not say a word. It was clear that he tacitly agreed with the short old man's words. Yin Chujio said aggrievedly, "Master, how am I a trash? I was first place in the Six Harmonies Waterside Pavilion competition previously. Also, I was first place in the Trial of Miracle this time. Is there a trash as outstanding as me?" The first thought that flashed through the short old man's mind was that Yin Chujio was lying. How could a trash like her get first place with her cultivation? What kind of joke was this? Unless the other students were all trash. President Gu recalled that Yin Chujio had helped her out previously and returned the favor by saying, "Senior, what she said is true. She did indeed obtain first place in both trials. If she didn't obtain first place in this trial of the Ruins of Miracles, our results would have been even uglier." The short old man narrowed his eyes and snorted coldly. "Is there something fishy going on here? Just based on her? I don't believe it." President Gu thought to himself, "I don't believe it either." But it was the truth. The tall old man pondered for a moment and said, "Little girl, could it be that Beiyu helped you?" Hearing the tall old man's words, Hei Xinjia's tears fell one by one. "Masters Wu Wu, help me save Brother Beiyu. He's definitely not dead. You two are so powerful. You must have a way to open the Ruins of Miracle again, right? Go in and help me find Big Brother Beiyu." The short old man glared at the tall old man in annoyance. He was really asking for trouble. The tall old man was also a little embarrassed and said, "Little girl, the Ruins of Miracle can only open once every 100 years. There's nothing we can do. Moreover, since he hasn't been teleported out, there's a high chance that... Impossible. Big Brother Beiyu will definitely be fine. He might have entered some place with an isolation array that prevented him from being teleported out. He must still be alive. You're all lying to me. Big Brother Beiyu will definitely be fine. Sob 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 sob." The short old man was annoyed by her crying. He said impatiently, all right, stop crying. If you want to save him, then cultivate properly. You can go in and save him after 100 years. After all, to cultivators, 100 years old is still a little brat. Why are you so anxious? Hei Xinjiao finally stopped crying, but she was still sobbing. Her red and swollen eyes were as pitiful as could be. Alright, you two can go back. After the 100-year competition, I'll make the decision for you and deal with those bastards. The short old man waved his hand and said, Ding Wenru couldn't wait to leave. This old man was temperamental, so he didn't want to slap them to death again. However, Yin Chujio didn't move. She wiped her tears and said, Master, the second round of the competition will be held tomorrow. I heard that there will be a competition of spiritual power, talisman making and pill making. Shouldn't you two give me a special lesson? As the saying goes, if one grinds one's spear at the last minute, it will shine even if it isn't fast enough. What if the content you teach just happens to be the content of the competition? The short old man didn't have the time to correct her address. In any case, if he didn't accept it, then he didn't accept it. It was useless for her to call him that. He said snappily, What wishful thinking? Even if we are willing to teach, can you guys learn it? Chapter 5949. Wager. The short old man felt that Yin Chujio was simply ignorant of the immensity of heaven and earth. In just a short night, she probably couldn't even learn the lowest level of jade talisman seals or medicinal pills, let alone advanced level talisman seals and medicinal pills. Master, how do you know that I can't learn if you don't teach me? Yin Chujio said unwillingly. The short old man saw her unconvinced look and curled his lips. Do you even need to ask? With your cultivation level, not to mention your comprehension ability, just your spiritual power alone is unable to support carving high-level jade talismans and refining high-level pills. Little girl, let me give you a piece of advice. A person must know his own limits. If he wants to run before he has learned how to walk, he will fall. Do you understand? Yin Chujio's little face sank. Are you really not going to teach me? The short old man was furious. What do you mean? Are you going to force me to teach you even if I don't teach you? Yin Chujio sneered. Ever since Ding Wenru and I entered the primal institution, you guys haven't done your duty as teachers. It's really disappointing. If you don't want to teach, then don't teach. What's the big deal? At worst, well, go to other institutions to freeload for lessons. It doesn't matter even if we're scolded. After all, we're poor little people who have no one to care about us. Sister Ding, let's go. After Yin Chujio finished speaking, she dragged Ding Wenru and walked out. The short old man patted the coffee table. Stop right there. You've really gone against the heavens. You actually dare to shout at me. All right, since you don't know your place, I'll let you know what it means to know the immensity of heaven and earth. As the short old man spoke, he threw 2 goatskin scrolls to Yin Chujio. These 2 are high-grade black-grade jade talisman seals and pill refining formulas. If you can learn one of them within a month, it'll teach you. Yin Chujio took the goatskin scroll and flipped it a few times. One type. I am not that useless. Within a month, I will learn all the pill formulas and jade talisman seals on it. If I can't learn them, I will voluntarily scram back to the lower house. The short old man was so angry that he rolled his eyes. He had seen arrogant people before, but this was the first time he had seen such an arrogant person. Although high-grade black-grade was not considered a powerful formula, but a month. What a joke. Even if it was a student who met their requirements, it would take at least 1.5 years to 2 years. She could learn it in 1 month? What nonsense. However, since she wanted to slap herself in the face, he naturally would not stop her. At that time, he would just kick these 2 good-for-nothings out of the house, so that he would not drag down his reputation. At this moment he heard Yin Chujio ask, "What if I learn it in a month?" The short old man said contemptuously, "HMPH, you really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. If you can learn it all in a month, I'll take you as my disciple." Yin Chujio looked at the tall old man provocatively. "What do you say?" The tall old man was speechless. "If you really can do it, I'll take you as my disciple too. I have another condition. If I can do it, not only will you take me as your disciple, but you will also take Ding Wenru as well. Do you dare to agree?" Yin Chujio straightened her neck and said indignantly. The short old man felt that Yin Chujio could not do it at all, so he said without thinking, "Yes, I agree." "Okay, then it's a deal. Masters, you can't deny it when the time comes. If you lie, you will be struck by lightning." After Hei Shinjio said that, she did not care about their reactions and dragged the dazed Ding Wenru out of the study. Chapter 5950. Will she be able to do it? Ching-chung, aye. Ding Wenru's eyes were red and she did not know how to express her feelings. She did not expect that Yin Chujio would still think of her at this time. Regardless of whether she would succeed in the end, as long as she had the heart, she would be extremely grateful. Yin Chujio said nonchalantly, "We are good sisters. Naturally, we will share happiness and adversity together. If you have any good news, just don't forget about me." Ding Wenru nodded solemnly. "Ching-chung, don't worry. As long as I, Ding Wenru, am around, I will do my best to protect you. If I don't keep my word, I will be struck by lightning and die a horrible death." The reason why the last oath was so smooth was because she had heard Yin Chujio say it many times, so she naturally said it. Yin Chujio grinned and said, Don't make such a vicious oath. If Nangong sure finds out, he will find me to settle the score." Ding Wenru's heart that was full of gratitude instantly turned into embarrassment and anger. She glared at her. "Don't talk nonsense. We are just ordinary friends. Let's get down to business. Can you really learn it in a month?" Although Ding Wenru had seen Yin Chujio's abnormal performance when she carved the jade talisman seal, it was only the lowest grade explosive jade talisman seal. It could not be compared to the high-grade black-grade jade talisman seal recorded on the sheepskin scroll. Moreover, she had never seen Ching-Ching refine pills. Could she do it? Don't worry. A month is more than enough. I'm not bragging. 5 days is enough." Hei Shinjio said confidently. "Ding Wenru, bragging doesn't pay taxes, right? Just keep bragging." On the other side, the short old man was infuriated by Yin Chujio's words before she left. He scolded, "This little girl is really audacious." President Gu was like a well-behaved little quail, and did not dare to say a word. He was afraid that the short old man would settle the score later. The tall old man sighed. Let's not talk about that little girl for now. What about the second round of the competition tomorrow? According to the current situation, we will most likely lose. The short old man was annoyed. What else can we do? Just hang in there. Damn it. When I think of that old brat Chi-Chen's face, I get so angry. It's also because these little brats aren't up to par. They really make me angry. Just as the short elder was grumbling, a guard outside the door reported, President, the 3 chancellors and the 3 vice-chancellors request to see you. President Gu was not surprised by this. He guessed that they were here to discuss the second round of the competition tomorrow. Seniors, do you want to see them? President Gu asked tentatively. The short old man snapped. What do you want to meet them for? I get angry whenever I think of them. If I can't control my temper, I'll beat them up and let Chi-Chen watch the fun. Hearing that, President Gu could only say, since you don't want to meet them, I'll have someone bring them to the living room. The tall old man pointed at the screen bookshelf and said, no need. There should be a secret room here, right? We'll stay inside to regulate our breath for now. After they leave, we'll have other things to ask you. The general study rooms in the Divine Enlightenment continent would have a secret room for meditation and rest. President Gu naturally didn't dare to refuse, so he let the 2 old men into the secret room behind the bookshelf. After President Gu had arranged everything properly, he asked the guards to invite President Run and the others from the alchemy division into the study room. After President Run and the others entered, they all sighed. It was nothing more than saying that they would lose the 100-year competition again. Headmaster Ren said unhappily, speaking of which, that Yin Qingqing is really a shit stirrer. She took the first place out of the blue and took a spot for no reason. Whether it is her spiritual power, alchemy, or talisman making, she is not good enough. These 2 trash from the primal institution are really occupying the latrine and not taking a shit. Chapter 59-51 Courting Death. As soon as President Ren finished his sentence, the chair that he was sitting on suddenly fell apart. He was caught off guard and fell to the ground. President Ren was embarrassed and angry. Just as he was about to complain, President Gu hurriedly changed the topic. Let's hurry up and discuss the specific countermeasures. President Ren looked at President Gu with some dissatisfaction, but didn't continue. President Gu cursed in his heart. You're still not satisfied? I'm saving you. If you continue, I'm afraid you won't be able to see the sun tomorrow. In the dark, the short old man's face was ashen. He was obviously very angry. If it wasn't for the tall old man changing the direction of his attack, President Ren wouldn't have fallen to the ground so easily. At first, he thought that the little girl was exaggerating. But now, it seemed that these little brats were really going too far. He would let them jump around for a few days first. When they returned to the academy, he would definitely teach these little brats a lesson. The tall old man's face was also not very good. Although the 2 little girls were not very talented, they were still in the name of the prehistoric branch. These people really deserved to be taught a lesson. President Gu wanted to change the topic, but someone did not know what was good for them. President, although those who enter the top 50 are qualified to participate in the 3 competitions, I don't think Yin Qingqing needs to go on stage and embarrass herself. Otherwise, the people of the Divine Enlightenment Academy will laugh at us for nothing, President Ren said disdainfully. Director Zhao of the Talisman Seal Academy echoed. Yes, the reason why she can get first place is most likely because of Northern Yu. She is already a trash, so if she goes up, she will also be at the bottom. Why not go up? Director Ren and Director Zhao had annoyed He Xinjiu so much because of the exploding wall and the hanging of the board. So naturally, they did not have a good impression of her. The 2 of them talked back and forth, belittling Yin Chujiu to the point that she was worthless. At the same time, they also ridiculed the prehistoric division. Although President Gu had changed the topic a few times, he could not help but ignore the 2 of them, who were trying to court death. It was hard for him to persuade those damn ghosts, and they deserved it. The short old man in the secret room tried his best to resist the urge to beat them up. In his heart, he remembered President Run and Director Zhao. President Gu waited until they were almost done talking before he said, "Don't forget, whether it was the selection test of the 6 harmonies waterside pavili. Luck is also a part of strength. Moreover, she is a student of the prehistoric branch. There must be something extraordinary about her. Maybe she can give us a surprise." President Gus' words were completely against his heart. However, in order to curry favor with those two in the dark, he displayed an extremely strong desire to survive. When the short old man heard President Gus' words, he could not help but nod his head. No wonder little Gu was the president. She was indeed a little stronger than those idiots. President Run curled his lips slightly. "President, don't put gold on her face. Just her? I reckon that she hasn't even learned the yellow rank medicinal pills and jade talisman seals." Director Zhao echoed from the side. "That's right. I've heard that when she's in the talisman seal class, she often sleeps soundly. When she goes on stage, she'll definitely stare blankly like an idiot." President Gu was afraid that the short old man would come out and beat him up, so he hurriedly said, all right. Yin Qingcheng's matter ends here. Let's discuss other things." Chancellor Run snorted coldly from his nose and then said, "All right, then let's not talk about that trash. Our alchemy division's Xiao Lianqiao has always performed well. Whether she can get a good result in the alchemy competition tomorrow will depend on her." Chapter 59-52. Jian Zhuyu from our talisman-making branch is also not bad. If she performs well, she can also obtain good results, Director Zhao said with a smile. He was quite satisfied with Jian Zhuyu. Not only was she talented, but she was also elegant and generous. She was indeed worthy of being the outstanding person from a big aristocratic family. After thinking for a while, he added, "In addition, although Ji Lingfeng is slightly inferior to Jian Zhuyu, he is also very good. If the two of them perform well in the Talisman Seal competition, we might not lose to the Divine Enlightenment Academy." Hearing their words, President Gu felt a little comforted. Although he would most likely lose, it was better not to make the situation too ugly. He looked at the silent Vice President Xiao and asked, "Vice President Xiao, do you have a better candidate for the spiritual power competition?" President Jiyu's impression of Vice President Xiao had changed a lot recently, because Vice President Xiao had changed from his usual arrogant and domineering attitude. He had been very low-key recently, and he had performed well at the welcoming banquet. In fact, he did not know that the 1,000-year-old corpse turtle emperor insect knew very little about many things. He was afraid of giving himself away, so he naturally kept a low profile. After hearing President Gus' words, he sighed. "If nothing happens to Beiyu, I am confident that he will be able to obtain first place in the spiritual power competition. However, none of the remaining people are a match for Lan Luochen from the Divine Enlightenment Academy. They can only choose a few students with high spiritual power to go up and go through the process." President Gu also sighed. "There's nothing we can do about it. Even if we can't get first place, we have to do our best and strive for a better ranking. After all, the top 10 places are rewarded with points." The crowd discussed some more details. President Gu saw that it was getting late, so he let the crowd go back. However, when they went out, for some unknown reason, Director Run and Director Zhao were both tripped by the doorsill and almost knocked their front teeth off. Both of them were stunned. They thought that their cultivation was not bad. How could they be tripped by the doorsill? What the hell? President Gu found it funny. Needless to say, this must be the work of that person in the dark. This was just the appetizer. When they returned to the academy, they would suffer. Although he was the president, he was usually restrained by 6 chancellors. Seeing that these people were going to be unlucky, he naturally gloated. Moreover, why was he always the one being scolded? It was their turn. After Chancellor Run and the others left with their faces covered in dirt, the 2 elders walked out from the dark with unfriendly expressions. The short elder cursed. "These little brats really deserve a beating. If I wasn't afraid of being laughed at by that old brat Chi Chun, I would have beaten him until he vomited blood." President Gu didn't dare to make a sound at the side, afraid that he would be blamed. After the short elder cursed for a while, he said, Is what those little brats said true? Is the little girl really unable to do anything? Will she only embarrass herself if she goes up tomorrow? President Gu thought for a while before carefully saying, "It's possible that she has less opportunities to display her talents. So we haven't discovered any of her specialties yet." The short old man snorted. "All right, I know she's a good-for-nothing even if you don't tell me. Tell her tomorrow morning. If she's afraid of losing face, don't go on stage." "Yes, this junior will remember it. Have you two seniors had dinner? Why don't this junior? We still have other things to do. Let's have a good competition tomorrow. Even if we lose, don't lose too badly." After the short old man finished his words, he walked away with the tall old man. I will not participate in Chapter 59-53. President Gu wiped off the cold sweat on his head and let out a long sigh. These two had finally left. But when he thought of the second round of the competition, he sighed again. It would be great if there was a miracle. But could there be a miracle? Early the next morning, the people of the 10 Directions Academy followed President Gu to the second round of the competition venue. The second round of the competition was the highlight of this century-old competition. All the major forces and spectators had come for the second round of the competition. After all, they could not see the details of the first round of the competition, even if they wanted to. The venue of the competition was set in the central square of Miracle City. This square occupied a very large area. It was originally built for the century-old competition. At this time, a spacious competition stage had been set up in the center of the square. There were a few seats around it, and 2 rows of VIP seats were set up on the stage. Although the people from the 10 Directions Academy arrived earlier, the square was already noisy when they arrived. Ding Wenru saw that Yin Chujio had been mumbling and gesturing with her hands. She looked a little worried. After returning to her room last night, Qingqing had been reading a sheepskin scroll. She had not slept all night. Had she gone mad? The participants of the 10 Directions Academy naturally had their own seats. After they sat down, Yin Chujio took out the sheepskin scroll and started to read it again. However, this guy had put a speech book cover on the outside of the sheepskin scroll to disguise himself. When the surrounding people saw the words on the cover, their expressions froze. On the cover was written, "The Empress and her 3 palaces and 6 courtyards had no choice but to talk about the past." Could this Yin Qingqing have gone crazy because of Beiye's death? Otherwise, why would she read such an immoral speech book? Moreover, she was reading it here without any reservations? Xiao Lianxiao also saw it and pursed her lips. This Yin Qingqing had previously pretended to accuse her of not saving Beiyu. In the end, before Beiye's corpse was even cold, she was reading these unrated speech books. How shameless! Jian Zhuyu, who was sitting next to her, was not as obvious as Xiao Lianxiao, but there was a flash of disdain in her eyes. Before President Gu took his seat in the VIP seats, he coincidentally caught a glimpse of the cover of the words book in Yun Chujio's hand. His expression immediately stiffened. Only then did he remember that he had forgotten the short old man's advice in the rush of the morning. So he coughed and said, "Yin Qingqing, come here for a moment." He Xinjiu was immersed in the contents of the sheepskin scroll and did not hear President Gu's words. Fortunately, Ding Wenru tugged at her. She stood up in a daze and walked over to President Gu's side. "President Gu, you were looking for me?" President Gu looked at her dazed expression and thought to himself, it seemed like the death of Beiyu had really dealt a heavy blow to her. She was using a script to numb herself. What a pitiful child. President Gu softened his tone. "Yin Qingqing, if your condition isn't good, don't participate in the second round." Yun Chujio did not want to participate in today's spiritual power competition. She nodded. "Yes, I understand. Thank you, President Gu." Seeing her nod in agreement, President Gu did not say anything else and turned around to leave. Yun Chujio returned to her seat and continued to read the sheepskin scroll. If she did not have to come, she would have stayed in her room to read today. She knew her own limits. If she didn't expose her background, she had no chance of winning today's spiritual power competition. Why was she looking for trouble? However, if she worked hard at tomorrow's talisman competition, and the alchemy competition the day after tomorrow. She could give it a try. Thinking of the two arrogant old men's dumbfounded expressions, Hei Shinjio was full of energy. Chapter 59-54. Registration. Xiao Lianxiao pursed her lips and said to Jianzhiyu beside her. The director only said that so that she wouldn't be embarrassed. In reality, he was afraid that she would embarrass herself. With a trash like her, she would probably be beaten half to death if she went up. Once Beiyu died, Xiao Lianxiao didn't feel so disgusted with Jianzhiyu. Instead, she hated Yun Chujio even more because she felt that if it wasn't for Yun Chujio, Beiyu wouldn't have died. Therefore, Yun Chujio deserved to die. Jianzhiyu's eyes flashed and she said, yeah, if she went on stage, she would definitely lose face. She might even lose her little life on stage. It's just a pity. It looks like she won't sign up to participate in the spiritual power competition. Xiao Lianxiao complained somewhat disappointedly. The dean is the same. Why did he specially come to warn her? If the dean didn't say it, maybe that trash wouldn't know the immensity of heaven and earth to sign up. Jianzhiyu's eyes flashed again, as if she inadvertently said, if someone carelessly reported her name, it would be good. Maybe she would directly die on the stage. Xiao Lianqiao's eyes immediately lit up. To register, one only needed to register under the competition stage. There was a specialist to do the statistics. If she pretended to be Yin Qingcheng, and then reported Yin Qingcheng's name. Thinking of this, Xiao Lianxiao immediately stood up and went to the registration place. A smug look flashed across Jianzhiyu's face. She sneered in her heart. Idiot. However, only such an idiot would be useful. It was just the right time to get rid of Yin Qingcheng. After a while, Xiao Lianxiao returned excitedly. It was obvious that the matter had been accomplished. She thought of the shock and fear that Yin Qingcheng would feel when she heard her name later. She felt extremely comfortable. She was really looking forward to it. Yin Chujio was completely unaware of this. This fellow was trying his best to study the jade talisman carving method, recorded on the sheepskin scroll. He had gained a lot of new insights when he compared it to the talisman and immortal rank inheritance that the heavenly Dao Cliff had given her. Initially, she did not see anything special about those immortal rank inheritances. However, at this moment, she could feel the profundity and uniqueness within them. Although with her current cultivation level, she was still unable to learn those immortal rank inheritances. She still benefited greatly from comparing them. At this time, City Lord Morong was already making his opening remarks. It was nothing more than a set of words. After City Lord Morong finished speaking, he invited President Gu and President Yu to have a few more words. Only then did the person hosting the competition begin to read out the rules of the spiritual power competition. As long as it was the first round, the top 50 students could participate in the spiritual power competition and draw lots to decide the two sides. After a few rounds, the top 10 would be decided, and each of them would be awarded points. After the host finished explaining the rules, he began to announce the names of the two academies. Divine Enlightenment Academy, Lan Luochen Guanzijia. 10 Directions Academy, Nangong Shi Jiang Shuangli. Yin Qingcheng. President Gu frowned. Yin Qingcheng had promised him before. Why did she go to register now? How naughty. Ding Wenru pulled Hei Xinjiu, who was still studying hard with a dumbfounded look on her face. Qingcheng, when did you go to register? Hei Xinjiu was at a loss. Register? What registration? The registration for the spiritual power competition. The host said your name just now. Look, Nangong Shi and the others are already on stage. I guess they will urge you to go on stage soon. Hei Xinjiu thought for a moment, and knew that she had been framed. Moreover, it was most likely done by the two bastards, Xiao Lianxiao and Jianzhiyu. If it was before, it would have been fine if there was a feud between Beiyu and the others. But now that Beiyu was already dead, the two of them were still unwilling to let it go. They were really courting death. Chapter 59-55. Drawing lots. Just as Yin Chujio was thinking about it, she heard Xiao Lianxiao snicker. Yin Qingcheng, you are representing the face of the 10 Directions Academy. Don't embarrass yourself. Yin Chuzhou glanced at Xiao Lianxiao indifferently and spat out 2 words. Idiot! Xiao Lianxiao stood up abruptly. You dare to scold me? Yin Chuzhou couldn't be bothered with her. This idiot was probably used by Jian Zhuyu again. At this time, the host on the stage said, Yin Qingqing of the 10 Directions Academy, please go on the stage immediately. Yin Chuzhou had no choice but to put the sheepskin scroll into her storage ring and go on the stage. This guy had already thought it through. When she was drawn later, she would casually make a few moves and admit defeat. Anyway, she was a waste, so she didn't miss this chance. With this thought, this fellow had the leisure to look around. He saw that there were a total of 15 people from the Divine Enlightenment Academy, and there were only 11 people from the 10 Directions Academy, including her. There was no other way. In the first round, there were 34 people from the Divine Enlightenment Academy who entered the top 50, and 16 people from the 10 Directions Academy. Jian Zhuyu and the others still had to conserve their strength to compete in alchemy and talisman making. It was already very good that 11 people could enter. The people from the Divine Enlightenment Academy were all high and mighty because they felt that victory was within their grasp. If they were lucky, the top 10 would all be people from the Divine Enlightenment Academy. When the host saw that everyone had arrived, he began to draw lots. Everyone followed the draw to fight. As there were 5 more people from the Divine Enlightenment Academy, the 5 people who drew empty lots went straight to the next round. It was simply wonderful. The host began to announce the specific battle groups. Yin Chuzhou could not help but frown when she heard her opponent. It was really a narrow road for enemies. She had actually drawn Guanzijia, and it was the first group. Previously in the Ruins of Miracles, Guanzijia had been badly burned by the fire spat out by the skeleton tiger. He hated Yin Chuzhou to the bone. Now that he saw that his opponent was Yin Chuzhou, he immediately revealed a sinister smile. After the host announced the start of the competition, Guanzijia had a sinister smile on his face. Yin Qingqing, you still have the guts to go on stage with your useless cultivation? You're really stupid. Kneel down and kowtow to me 3 times right now, and I'll let you off the stage safely. If not, it won't be good if I kill you in a moment of heavy hand. Yin Chuzhou originally wanted to admit defeat after a few moves, but it was clear that Guanzijia would not give her such a chance. This fellow had a headache. Why was it so hard for her to keep a low profile? She just wanted to be a quiet audience. Why did she have to be the main character? Others naturally didn't know that this fellow's inner drama was so rich. Seeing her stiff face, they thought that she was afraid. President Gu sighed in his heart. Now you know fear. What did you do before? Since you don't have the guts to compete, don't sign up. But now, it didn't matter that she lost miserably. After all, everyone knew that she was a good for nothing. The key was that the first round was very important. Who wouldn't want to start off with a good start? This round's loss was very tragic. It was definitely a fatal blow to the morale. This troublemaker was really restless. President Yu was in a good mood. Although Guanzijia had embarrassed himself at the welcoming banquet, it was only a competition of movement techniques after all. Today's competition could use spirit beasts. He was sure to win. Xiao Lianxiao was extremely excited. She deserved it. She really deserved it. She actually met Guanzijia. This Yin Qingqing was really unlucky. Ding Wenru clenched her fists and looked at him worriedly. Although she knew that Yin Chuzhou was not as useless as she appeared to be, could she be Guanziji's opponent? Chapter 59-56. I alone am enough. Yin Qingqing, have you thought about it? Why aren't you kneeling down and kowtowing? If you delay any longer, I won't give you this chance, Guanzijia said arrogantly. He had been making a fool of himself recently. Today, he could finally hold his head up high. Naturally, he was very proud. He felt that he was at level 5 of the Divine Summoning, while Yin Chuzhou was only at level 1 of the Divine Summoning. He could easily win. Yin Chuzhou glanced at him. Isn't it good to be alive? Why are you tirelessly courting death? Guanzijia was so angry that he was twitching. Good, you stinky girl. You really won't shed tears until you see the coffin. I'll send you on your way right now. Guanzijia had learned his lesson from the previous match with Ding Wenru. He immediately released his huge spiritual bear. The huge bear's 2 claws had already materialized and looked exceptionally powerful. Everyone looked at Yin Chujio. Someone who knew about it curled his lips and said, "It's said that Yin Qingcheng's spiritual power beast is a claw. It's so hilarious." Really? It can only materialize a claw. It can't even materialize an entire spiritual power beast? Isn't this too useless? Who says so? The 10 Directions Academy is getting worse and worse. Such trash is actually qualified to participate in the 100-year competition. Guan Zijia had also read Yin Chujio's introduction in the Book of Heroes. He curled his lips and said, "Yin Qingcheng, release your claws." Yin Chujio glanced at him, then straightened her back and said, "To deal with a trash like you, I don't need to release a spiritual beast. I'm enough alone." This guy wanted to release Dehua, but although Dehua's color had changed, it was inevitable that Lan Luochen and the people from the Divine Devil Hall would recognize it, so it was better not to release it. This fellow's intestines were turning green with regret. Why was the first spirit beast she thought of back then a pig? Even if it was a donkey. Guan Zijia saw how arrogant Yin Chujio was. He snorted coldly and directly directed his huge spirit bear to attack Yin Chujio. Yin Chujio jumped to the side and dodged the huge spirit bear's claws. The huge spirit bear naturally would not give up, and once again struck at Yin Chujio with its claws. Yin Chujio once again nimbly dodged. The man and the bear fought at the same spot. Guan Zijia stood at the back and did not make a move. He was certain that Yin Chujio would not be a match for the giant spiritual bear. He was happy to watch the show. However, until the giant spiritual bear dissipated, Yin Chujio was not injured. She did not even fight back. She just relied on dodging to drag the giant spiritual bear away. The surrounding people could not help but look at Yin Chujio in a new light. Not to mention other things, this Yin Qingcheng's movement technique was very fast. It seemed that she was on par with people at the 6th or 7th level of the divine summoning. Guan Zijia could not help but feel a little angry when he heard the discussions of the crowd. After releasing the huge spiritual bear again, he also joined the battle. In this way, Yin Chujio was on the passive side. This fellow thought to himself, if she let Xiao Hanyo curse, she could take care of this Guan Zijia. However, if the next person she met was also difficult to deal with, wouldn't she have no trump card? The spiritual power competition did not allow the use of talismans, pills and the like. How could she defeat Guan Zijia? The Guai Chao and her Dantian started to act cute, but Yin Chujio mercilessly rejected it. What a joke! If she let this guy out, wouldn't her identity be revealed? Gowei Batsao could shrink, but if someone found out that it had such an ability, the consequences would be unimaginable. What should she do? Just as the fellow was worrying, the palm of his left hand heated up slightly, and Yin Chujio's eyes lit up. Chapter 5957 Yin Qingcheng wins. Xiao Chouzhu, you're awake? He Xinjiu asked excitedly while fighting with Guan Zijia. Buddha's candle had been dormant for a long time, but he didn't expect to wake up at this critical moment. Buddha's candle said proudly, "Do you miss me a lot? Is none of those trash more powerful than me? Do you only know how to cherish it after losing it?" Yin Chujio rolled her eyes inwardly, but now was not the time to clean it up. She said, "Let's not talk about this for now. Hurry up and possess him, so that I can torture him to death. It takes a lot of psyche power to possess him at once. Is it easy for me to cultivate such a little psyche power? I'm not going. If you want to go, go by yourself." Buddha's candle said unhappily. He Xinjiu was so angry that she was twitching. Who was the master? Just as He Xinjiu was about to get angry, Buddha's candle said smugly, "I'm different from before. Even if I don't possess him, as long as he smells my Buddha's incense, he will be in a trance for a moment." Yin Chujio did not have the time to listen to its bragging. She said anxiously, "Since you have the ability, why don't you show it now?" Buddha's candle also knew that the situation was urgent. Although it had not had enough of bragging, it still released the Buddha's incense when Yin Chujio reached out her left hand to slap Guan Zijia. Guan Zijia saw that Yin Chujio was gradually falling into a disadvantageous position, and his heart was filled with pride. Who would have thought that his mind would actually go blank for a moment? Although it was only for a moment, it was enough to be fatal. He was stunned on the spot. Yin Chujia's palm had really hit his face. He did not have any spiritual power to protect his body, and his entire body fell down the competition stage like a kite with a broken string. He died immediately. Everyone was shocked by this change. What was going on? Guan Zijie had the absolute advantage earlier. How could he be killed by Yin Qingqing all of a sudden? Was Guan Zijie stupid? Why didn't he dodge? Why didn't he use the spiritual power to protect his body? Why did he just let Yin Qingqing beat him foolishly? Immediately, people from the Divine Enlightenment Academy shouted that Yin Qingqing had cheated. She must have used illegal poisons, jade talismans, or spiritual weapons. Otherwise, Guan Zijie would not have died tragically. Yin Chujio curled her lips and said to the host, "Since the people from the Divine Enlightenment Academy suspect me of cheating, then please check Guan Zijie's body to prove my innocence." Even without Yin Chujio's words, the host would also arrange for the judges to check Guan Zijie's body. After all, Guan Zijie's defeat was very strange. After a round of examination, no problem was found. Could it be that Guan Zijie was sick? Or was it an intermittent illness? That was why it was like this. By the way, wasn't Guan Zijie burned by the skeleton tiger's fire in the Ruin of Miracles? Could it be that there are sequelae? You have a point. No wonder he was suddenly stunned. This Yin Qingqing really got lucky. She could enter the next round so easily. Seeing that the referee was meaningless, the host announced the final result of the competition. Yin Qingqing of the 10-Directional Academy had won. The students of the 10-Directional Academy immediately burst into cheers. Although Yin Qingqing was usually not liked, at this time, no one would care about those small feuds. President Gu smiled at President Yu. "President Yu, I didn't expect that the most useless student of the 10-Directional Academy would win. I'm sorry for making a fool of myself." President Ye's face froze and he said indifferently, "President Gu, the competition has just begun. Don't be happy too early." Chapter 59-58 was in a dire situation. President Gu smiled nonchalantly when he heard President Ye's words. Although he still lost in the end, he was still in a good mood. It seemed that Yin Qingqing, the troublemaker, was really lucky to be able to surprise him every time. Hei Xinjiu saw that the results of the competition had already been announced. She calmly got off the stage and Buddha's candle kept taking credit. How is it? How is it? Am I very good? Am I 100 times better than the other idiots? Seeing Buddha's candle's smug look, Buttface said unhappily, "Tui, what's the point of being smug? It's just a blind cat meeting a dead rat. You're just jealous. I'm better than you, and am more pampered than you. You're eating for free, you trash." Buddha's candle said arrogantly. Anyway, it was not in the spiritual beast's bag. Those idiots could not even find a way to settle the score with it. So what was it afraid of? Hei Xinjiu saw that the two were quarreling non-stop, and Han Dun, that troublemaker, also had the tendency to join in the scolding battle. She simply cut off the spiritual connection between them, and their ears were instantly silenced. She returned to her seat, and Ding Wenru said excitedly, "Qingqing, you're really amazing." Xiao Lianxiao pouted and said, "TSK, what's there to be proud of? It's just dog shit and luck. It's already good enough to be able to leave the stage alive in the next round." Ding Wenru glared at Xiao Lianxiao and said, "Xiao Lianxiao, do you wish for the 10 Directions Academy to lose? Otherwise, why would Qingqing taunt you when she won?" Xiao Lianxiao choked on her words. Jian Zhiyu said from the side, "Lianxiao is also kind-hearted. She is worried that Yin Qingqing will be in danger in the next round, but her tone is a little hasty." Yes, that's what I mean. Don't judge a gentleman by his petty heart," Xiao Lianxiao said. Ding Wenru snorted and ignored her. She turned to Yin Chujio and said, "Qingqing, have a good rest. The next round will probably not start for a long time." Yin Chujio nodded, ate a spirit fruit, and then looked at the competition stage. The first round of the competition didn't end until noon. The Divine Enlightenment Academy had the absolute advantage. Among the 11 matches, only Yin Qingqing, Nan Gongshi, and Jiang Shuangli had won. The rest of them had all lost miserably. President Gu's face immediately turned ugly. Although he had expected to lose, he had never expected to lose so miserably. It was too embarrassing. Seeing him like this, President Yu naturally wouldn't let go of this opportunity to kick him while he was down. He said with a slightly provocative tone. President Gu, it seems that the students of the 10-Directional Academy are getting worse and worse each year. I remember that you were at least stronger than this time in the last century grand competition. President Gu resisted the impulse to beat him up and said stiffly. Just like you said, what's the rush? Isn't it not the end yet? President Yu pursed his lips. In this round, the Divine Enlightenment Academy had advanced 8 students. Including the 5 who were not in the round, there were a total of 13 people from the Divine Enlightenment Academy who had advanced to the next round. And the 10 Directions Academy only had 3 people. It was estimated that these 3 people would be eliminated in the second round of the competition. When that time came, the Divine Enlightenment Academy would sweep the top 10 places. It was simply exhilarating. President Gu also thought of this, and his mood was very heavy. If the top 10 places were taken by the Divine Enlightenment Academy, the 10 Directions Academy would be too shameful. The 2 academies were originally evenly matched. However, after the 100-year competition, the Divine Enlightenment Academy would really be able to suppress the 10 Directions Academy. Their days in the future would be difficult. Chapter 59-59. A crushing defeat. The more President Gu thought about it, the heavier his mood became. His gaze fell on Yin Qingcheng and the other 2 on the stage. It would be great if these 3 could create a miracle. There was no need for them to obtain first place. Even if they could enter the top 10, it would still be fine. But would it work? Chancellor Run and the others from the 10 Directions Academy also had ugly expressions on their faces, as if they were sitting on pins and needles. At this moment, they were truly regretting the death of Beiyu. If Beiyu was here, they could at least fight with Lan Luochen, and the situation would not be so ugly. On the stage, Nangongshi and Jiang Shuangli looked very serious. They knew the responsibility they were shouldering, but unfortunately, one of them was good at refining weapons, while the other was good at beast taming. Their spiritual power cultivation was not too outstanding. They did not have much confidence in the following competition. He Xinjiu did not feel any psychological burden. After all, she was trash. If she lost, so be it. Moreover, she had just unlocked the Buddha's candle's new skill. Not to mention whether she could win or not, at least she would have enough time to escape. Since the 10 Directions Academy only had 3 people in this round, the Divine Enlightenment Academy only needed 3 people to fight. Immediately, everyone began to draw lots. He Xinjiu saw the 3 on the lot. It seemed that she would be the last one to fight in this round. The one who drew Yin Chujiu was a male student from the Divine Enlightenment Academy. He had a strong back and a strong build. He looked at Yin Chujiu contemptuously. He would definitely win this round. Yin Chujiu ignored him and directly went down the competition stage. Anyway, she was in the 3rd group. It would probably take a while before she got her turn. She returned to her seat and sat down. She saw Ding Wenru holding the Book of Heroes with a worried look on her face. Qingcheng, Nangongshi and Jiang Shuangli will probably lose. The 2 people who were fighting with them were both at the 6th level of the spirit summoning realm, 1 level higher than them. Moreover, their spiritual roots were also restraining them. They were really unlucky, Ding Wenru said worriedly. Yin Chujiu took the Book of Heroes and looked at it. Ding Wenru was right. It seemed that Nangongshi and Jiang Shuangli were both doomed. However, she had told the 2 of them that winning or losing was secondary, and survival was more important. The 2 of them would not be seriously injured. As expected in the first group, Jiang Shuangli was soon at a disadvantage. In the end, he lost and was SL. In the second group, Nangongshi's opponent was Duan Li from the Divine Enlightenment Academy. Although Nangongshi tried his best, he was still at a disadvantage. He could have found an opportunity to admit defeat as soon as possible, but he thought that he and Yin Qingcheng were the only 2 people left in the 10 Directions Academy. Although Yin Qingcheng was not as simple as she looked, she might not be able to win. If he lost again, wouldn't the 10 Directions Academy be completely wiped out? Therefore, despite being at a disadvantage, she was still struggling despite being injured. In the end, she couldn't take it anymore and jumped to the side with all her strength. She cupped her fists and wanted to admit defeat, but she didn't expect Duan Li to take advantage of this opportunity to attack Nan Gongshi's vital points. Nan Gongshi hurriedly raised his spirit energy shield and activated the defensive spirit tool on his body. Despite this, he still spat out a mouthful of blood and fell below the competition stage. Ding Wenru immediately cried out in surprise and ran toward Nan Gongshi. Yin Chujio also quickly followed. Nan Gongshi's injuries weren't light, but fortunately, his life wasn't in danger, so he was sent back to his residence. Yin Chujio saw that Ding Wenru was very worried, so she asked her to go back with her. At this time, Duan Li, who was on the stage, was boasting. The 10 Directional Academy is only SSO. In this 100-year competition, our Divine Enlightenment Academy will definitely take the top 10 places. In the future, the 10 Directional Academy is not worthy to be on par with our Divine Enlightenment Academy. Chapter 5960. The three elders. The rest of the people from the Divine Enlightenment Academy also echoed. They were saying that the 10 Directions Academy was a bunch of trash and was getting worse and worse. President Gus' face was livid, but he could not compete with a bunch of students because of his identity. President Yu was very pleased with himself. He had no intention of stopping them. Moreover, what the students said was right. The 10 Directions Academy only had one good-for-nothing, Yin Qingcheng. Although they had won against Guan Zijie by luck, it was just dogshit luck. They would definitely not enter the next round. The Divine Enlightenment Academy had not only taken the top 10, but also the top 13. With such an overwhelming advantage, how could the 10 Directions Academy compete with the Divine Enlightenment Academy? There was no comparison at all. Three old men had appeared behind the bustling crowd. All three of them wore bamboo hats, and their auras were nothing special, so they did not attract the attention of others. One of the old men lowered his voice and said proudly, TSK, your 10 Directions Academy is really getting worse year by year. Last time I remember, it wasn't this miserable. I think it's better to merge the two academies in the future, so that your 10 Directions Academy won't lose face. Chi-chun, you old fart. Try spouting nonsense again. The one who spoke was the short elder of the 10 Directions Academy. The elder called Chi-chun was the supreme elder of the Divine Enlightenment Academy. He was about the same age as the short elder, and their cultivation levels were almost the same. They liked to compare with each other. However, the recent 100-year competitions of the 10 Directions Academy were getting worse each time. The short elder and the tall elder had been ridiculed by Chi-chun many times. Chu Feng Zhuangmu, don't be unconvinced. As you have seen, the 10 Directions Academy only has that little trash left. He definitely won't be able to enter the next round, Chi-chun said proudly. Chu Feng was the name of the short old man, while Zhuangmu was the name of the tall old man. In this world, only Chi-chun could call them by their names. When Chu Feng heard Chi-chun call Yin Chujio a little trash, he became even angrier. No matter how weak that little trash was, she was still a student of their primal academy. It was fine if he called her by her name, but why did Chi-chun call her a little trash? Chu Feng was about to argue with Chi-chun when he saw a lithe figure jump onto the competition stage. Yin Chujio looked at Duan Li coldly. Duan Li, right? Just you wait, we will meet sooner or later. Duan Li curled his lips. Yin Qingcheng, are you crazy? After all, your 10 Directions Academy is trash. There is no need for you. Ha ha ha. Yin Chujio did not get angry. Instead, she laughed. You are wrong. The 10 Directions Academy only has one trash. And that is me, Yin Qingcheng. Just watch with your dog eyes. Even if I am a trash, I can still defeat you. I alone will be enough to deal with you bunch of idiots. Yin Chujio actually did not have much confidence in her words. It was easy to deal with others, but the main point was that Lan Luochen was really hard to deal with. However, now that the 10 Directions Academy was in such an ugly situation, She had to say a few words to regain some face. Moreover, she didn't believe that she was so unlucky and would soon face Lan Luochen. If she were to face Lan Luochen, at worst, she would just admit defeat. After hearing Yin Chujio's words, Duanli burst into laughter again. He felt that Yin Chujio was simply dreaming. A trash like her couldn't even defeat Xiong Wang, who was going to fight her in a while. Chapter 5961. Again Duanli was about to mock Yin Chujio when the host announced the start of the third group battle. He snorted and said to Xiong Wang, "Xiong Wang, I'll leave Yin Qingqing to you." Xiong Wang was tall and strong. He did not take Yin Chujio seriously at all. He grinned and said, "Just you wait and see. I'll beat her to the ground in 15 minutes. The rest of the people from the Divine Enlightenment Academy also began to clamor. They all felt that Yin Chujio would be defeated very soon. Seeing this, Qichin clicked his tongue and said, "Oh my, that little trash is really brave. As expected of your Primal Academy. She doesn't have any self-awareness at all." Chu Feng was naturally very angry, but he also felt that Yin Chujio had no way to win. He could only stare and sulk. At this moment, Xiong Wang had already released his spiritual beast. It was a huge spiritual tiger, and 2 of its claws had materialized and were very ferocious. "Yin Qingqing, release your useless claws." "Ha ha ha." Xiong Wang shouted complacently. Hei Xinjiu stood with her hands behind her back and said indifferently, "There's no need for a spiritual beast to deal with trash like you. If you can do it, don't waste your time." Xiong Wang was furious when he saw Yin Chujio's arrogance. He immediately jumped up and attacked Yin Chujio with his spiritual tiger. Yin Chujio complained in her heart, "Damn it. If it weren't for the fact that she was afraid that the blue dregs would see through her, she would have released De Hua." She was really depressed. Xiong Wang's cultivation was obviously stronger than Guanziji's, so Yin Chujio was soon at a disadvantage. Qichin glanced at Chu Feng, who was clenching his fist. "Chu Feng, I'm not laughing at you, but why do you think your primal institution has recruited such a trash student? It can't be because your reputations are too bad that no one is willing to apply for the primal institution, right? Ha ha ha." Chu Feng clenched his fist so hard that it made cracking sounds. If it wasn't for the fact that he was in public, he would definitely teach this old fellow a lesson. In his heart, he was also very angry at Yin Chujio. Was this little trash stupid? Her cultivation was not as high as the bear, but she did not even use her spiritual beast. How could she be so stupid? At this time, Yin Chujio on the stage was forced back by Xiong Wang and his spiritual beast. She was about to reach the edge of the stage and would fall off the stage soon. Chu Feng could already imagine the arrogance of the 10 Directions Academy when they completely annihilated Qichin. Just as he was about to turn around and leave, he heard the exclamations of the crowd. His heart sank. It was over. The little trash must have fallen off the competition stage. He did not know if the fall was serious or not. However, when he focused his eyes, he saw something. That little trash was standing perfectly fine on the stage. Could it be that the one who fell off was that bear? He took a closer look, and it was really him. He saw that Xiong Wang was standing under the stage with a blank look on his face. He was clearly a little dumbfounded, and did not know how he fell down. Chu Feng was stunned for a moment before he laughed out loud. "Qichin, that old fellow, you've slapped your face, right? You even said that the little girl was a little trash, but she just had to win. Don't you think it's infuriating?" Qichin's expression was very ugly. He had been staring at the competition on the stage. Xiong Wang clearly had the advantage. How could he suddenly lose? Could it be that that little trash cheated? Many people had the same thoughts as Qichin. However, a few judges had examined Xiong Wang's body and asked him some information. They determined that Yin Qingqing did not cheat. After receiving a definite answer, the host announced loudly, "In this group, Yin Qingqing of the Academy of 10 Directions wins." Chapter 5962 had won again. Seeing that Yin Chujio had miraculously won again, President Gu was both emotional and happy. No matter what, He had finally helped the 10 Directions Academy regain some face. Although President Yu was a little displeased, he did not mind. There were still 12 people in the Divine Enlightenment Academy, but only Yin Qingqing was left in the 10 Directions Academy. Even if she was a little strange, she would still be exhausted to death. The host did not give Yin Chuzhou time to rest, and directly carried out the next round of drawing lots. Yin Chuzhou silently prayed in her heart that she would not draw blue dregs. The remaining people could draw whoever they wanted. After all, she had the clown candle as a cheating weapon. It would be best if she drew Duanli. That way, she would be able to avenge Nangongshi. She did not know if this guy's prayers had worked, but he really did draw Duanli. This fellow immediately narrowed his eyes and said to Duanli, "Are you going to die by yourself, or do you want me to kill you?" Duanli was so angry that he laughed instead. "Yin Qingqing, I admit that your luck is not bad. You've won 2 rounds consecutively by luck, but this time, you're going to lose for sure." After he finished speaking, he did not waste any more words with Yin Chuzhou, and directly released his spirit energy mink. His spirit energy mink's 3 claws had already materialized. It was obvious that his cultivation was much stronger than Xiong Wang from before. Yin Chuzhiu's cultivation level was not as high as Duanli's, so she could not release De Hua. In addition, she had used up a lot of her physical strength. However, she was already at a disadvantage after a dozen moves. Yin Chuzhou had no choice but to use the same trick again. However, Duanli was much more cautious than Xiong Wang and Guan Zijia. He had been using his spirit energy to protect his body. Although Yin Chuzhou took advantage of the time when he was still in a daze to hit his palm, Duanli was not in much danger. Yin Chuzhou could only say to Buddha's candle, "Again." Buddha's candle stuttered, "Master, I'm sorry. My spiritual power is limited. Wait for me to cultivate for a few days before I play with you." Yin Chuzhou. She knew that all of them were fucking swindlers. She had no choice but to use the curse of Xiaohanio. No matter what, she had to get rid of Duanli first. Otherwise, based on his ruthless character, he would not give her a chance to live. Yin Chuzhou pretended to be defeated and revealed a flaw. Although Duanli was cautious, his desire to win still fell into the trap. Originally, with his cultivation, he would not be seriously injured even if he fell into the trap. The bad thing was that Yin Chuzhou had used Xiaohanio's curse. When he retreated, he fell directly onto his back. Yin Chuzhou naturally would not let go of such a good opportunity. A sword appeared in her hand and directly cut Duanli's throat. The scene was deathly silent. Everyone couldn't believe their eyes. This Yin Qingqing actually won again. How was this possible? However, this was the truth. Chu Feng's old eyes widened, and he rubbed them a few times before he confirmed that he wasn't wrong. This little trash actually won another round miraculously. Io, as expected of a student from the primal region. She was indeed 100 times stronger than the others. So what if her cultivation was low? She still won. Qi Chen's face was ashen as he squeezed out a sentence from between his teeth. There's something fishy about her win. She must be cheating. Chu Feng was immediately unhappy. You old fart. Who are you calling cheating? Little trash. The little girl won fair and square. How did she cheat? Don't be a sore loser. She didn't cheat? Then explain to me why Duanli fell on his back. People make mistakes. Horses make mistakes. Isn't it normal for him to trip himself in a panic? In the end, he underestimated his opponent. The little girl was obviously pretending to reveal a flaw. Who was he to blame for being fooled? Chu Feng snorted. Qi Chen was so angry that he gritted his teeth. But he had to admit that if Duanli didn't underestimate his opponent, he wouldn't have lost. However, did that little trash really not cheat? Chapter 5963. She was not a fool after repeated inspections by the judges. They did not find anything wrong with the cause of Duanli's death. The MC had no choice but to announce. In this round, Yin Qingqing of the 10 Directional Academy wins. Although the people of the 10 Directional Academy also felt that Yin Qingqing's victory was somewhat inexplicable. But no matter what, the 10 Directional Academy only had one single sapling left, so they were naturally very happy. President Yu furrowed his brows tightly. Seeing President Gus's smiling face, he couldn't help but say in a strange tone, "President Gu, I didn't expect that your Yin Qingcheng's luck is actually quite good. However, our Divine Enlightenment Academy still has 11 people. If Yin Qingcheng wants to enter the top 10, she needs to win at least 2 more rounds. Putting her cultivation aside, I reckon that her physical strength can't support her to last 2 more rounds, right?" President Gus's smile froze on his face. That's right. Yin Qingcheng had already fought 3 rounds, especially the last 2 rounds. Would her stamina be able to keep up? Besides, her luck would run out eventually. Would she still be able to win the next round? On the stage, He Xinjiu was not confident either. Her stamina was not a problem. After all, Gowei Batsao was constantly replenishing her stamina. Moreover, she did not expend much energy in the previous 2 rounds. She had relied on her intelligence to win. However, she could not use Buddha's candle and Xiao Hanio's skills anymore. What would she rely on to win the next round? Why not just admit defeat? Just as Yin Chujia was pondering, the host asked her to draw again. This fellow drew a lot casually. She did not feel any psychological burden. Anyway, no matter who she drew, she would admit defeat after a few strokes. Yin Qingcheng, I didn't expect you to win 2 rounds in a row. You won't be able to pass this round so easily. The person who spoke was a woman with an extraordinary appearance. However, the gaze she gave Yin Chujio was filled with disdain and viciousness, and there was also a hint of jealousy mixed within. Yin Chujio had seen this woman's introduction in the Atlas of Heroes. Fan Luyan was one of the 4 fairies of the Divine Enlightenment continent. He was at the 6th level of the Divine Summoning Realm, and had a water spirit root. Yin Chujio was not unfamiliar with the way she looked at her, because that was how Xiao Lianxiao and Jian Jiu looked at her. It was really strange. Why was this little bitch looking at her like that? Fan Luyan saw that Yin Chujio did not say anything, but looked at her like she was looking at a lunatic. He could not help but become angry out of embarrassment, and immediately released his spiritual water body. The huge mouth of the spiritual water body immediately came towards Yin Chujio. Yin Chujio quickly dodged it, and complained in her heart. This little bitch clearly had enmity towards her. She was afraid that even if she wanted to admit defeat, it would not be so easy. If she really could not, she might as well just jump off the competition stage. This fellow made up her mind, and prepared to find an opportunity to jump off the competition stage. Nothing was more important than her life. She was not an idiot. Therefore, this fellow deliberately retreated to the edge of the competition stage. To outsiders, she was forced back by Fan Luyan, and was in danger. They were sure that she would lose very soon. Chi-Chen snorted. Chu Feng this time. That little trash will definitely lose. I want to see what other tricks she has up her sleeves. If I find evidence of her cheating, I want to see where your old face will go. Yo, you old fart can't afford to lose. Also watch your words, don't call her a little trash. She's a little trash. How is she a little trash? Chu Feng curled his lips and said. Chi-Chen didn't reply. His attention was on the competition stage, staring at Yin Chujia's every move. Chapter 5964. Lying down wins naturally. Yin Chujio did not know about the dispute between the two of them. She felt that the time was right, and was ready to jump down from the stage. As she used the corner of her eye to look for a suitable landing spot, she cursed in her heart. She did not know why this little bitch was so hostile towards her. If not for that, she would not have taken the initiative to jump down. How hateful. Why didn't this little bitch die from the heavenly lightning? Boom! A purple heavenly lightning descended from the sky, and coincidentally struck Fan Luyan's body. Fan Luyan would never have dreamed that a heavenly lightning would suddenly strike down from the clear sky. After being struck by the heavenly lightning, his body tilted, and he fell straight down from the competition stage. Hey Shinjio! Was this the so-called winning by lying down? Honestly, she had intended to admit defeat. But she didn't expect that she would win by lying down because of her jinx skill. It was so wonderful. At first, everyone was dead silent. Then, like a bucket of cold water being poured into a hot pot, they exploded. Oh my God! that Fan Luyin was struck by the heavenly lightning? Did she do something that the heavenly axiom doesn't allow? It can't be. Isn't she one of the 4 fairies of the divine enlightenment? Her reputation is quite good. What do you know? Maybe she is the kind of person who is fishing for fame. She looks gentle and elegant on the surface, but she might not be evil on the inside. Fan Luyin, who had just woken up, spat out a mouthful of blood and fainted again when he heard the discussion. The crowd became even more excited when they saw this. The topic of discussion shifted to He Xinjiu. Yan Qingqing's luck is too good, isn't it? Guan Zijie and Xiong Wang were defeated by her, because they were distracted. Duanli, on the other hand, tripped himself. Fan Luyin was even more ridiculous. He was struck to death by lightning. Huh. Now that you mention it, Yan Qingqing is really lucky. There's no one else who has such good luck. Don't say that either. Luck is also a kind of strength. Otherwise, why would everyone want to get a good opportunity? Chu Feng almost couldn't stop smiling. He looked at Qi Chun, whose face was livid, and said, "Old fart, didn't you say that the little girl cheated? Could it be that heavenly thunder also helped her cheat? There is a saying that goes, those who have achieved the Tao will have more help. Those who have lost the Tao will have less help. With an old fart like you in the Divine Enlightenment Academy, your luck is naturally not that good. Maybe little trash, the little girl can get first place." Qi Chun was so angry that he gritted his teeth, but he did not know how to retort. Yes, it could not be said that Tian Lei was also helping that little trash cheat, right? It could only be said that Fan Luyin's luck was really too bad. Or it could be said that she might have done something that angered the heavens and incurred the wrath of the heavens. In the VIP seats, President Gus' mouth was so wide open that it almost reached his ears. Although he was an old fox who did not like to show his anger, the situation at this moment was really too fucking satisfying. Ha ha ha. He did not expect that even the heavenly thunder was on the side of the 10 Directions Academy, and Yan Qingqing had won another round in a muddle-headed manner. President Ye's expression was not so good. To be more precise, his face was as dark as water. He had thought that Fan Luyin's victory was in his grasp, but in the end, he was struck by the heavenly thunder. He was really depressed. However, he would not lose if he lost. He snorted coldly. She might not even be able to enter the top 10. It's a little too early for President Gu to be happy. Chapter 5965 was doomed. President Gu did not get angry when he heard President Ye's words. In any case, Yan Qingqing had won 3 matches in a row. At least she had saved some face for the 10 Directions Academy. As for whether she could win the next match or enter the top 10, it was not that important anymore. The host on the stage announced the result very quickly this time, because everyone had watched Fan Luyin being struck by lightning below the stage. There was no need to check whether Yan Qingqing had cheated or not. The people from the 10 Directions Academy cheered again. Even Xiao Lianxiao clapped a few times. It was not that she suddenly had a conscience, but that Fan Luyin was on par with her. Seeing Fan Luyin make a fool of himself, she was naturally very happy. He Xinjiu saw that the host handed over a straw again, and randomly drew a straw. Just winning one more round was already enough. This time, she just had to admit defeat. The person who was drawn by Yin Chujio was a tall man. Although his appearance couldn't be compared to Lan Luochen, he was on par with Jiang Shuangli and the others. Yin Chujio had seen this person's introduction in the Atlas of Heroes. Yue, peak of the 6th level of the Spirit Summoning Realm, Thunder Spirit Root. Yue looked at Yin Chujio with an unfriendly gaze. He had a good impression of Fan Luyin. Yin Chujio had previously made Fan Luyin suffer, so he naturally didn't like Yin Chujio. Yin Chujio also felt his strong hostility and killing intent. She thought, why does everyone hate me? Is she that hateful? Yue said coldly, Yin Qingqing, apologize to Luyin now and he'll let you live. Otherwise, this day next year will be your death anniversary. Yin Chujio immediately understood. So it was to make Fan Luyin happy. TSK, are you out of your mind? This is a competition stage. What right do I have to apologize to Fan Luyin? She did something wicked and was struck by lightning. What does it have to do with me? I'll give you a piece of advice. Apologize to me right now, and I'll let you live. Otherwise, this day will be your death anniversary every year from now on. Yui sneered. Good, very good. Since you don't know what's good for you, I'll send you on your way. As he spoke, he directly released his spiritual power lion. The lion's 3 claws had already materialized, and there were even silver lightning crackling on its body. It was an extremely frightening sight to behold. The people below the stage immediately discussed animatedly. This time, Yin Qingqing will definitely lose. It's hard to say if she'll be able to keep her life. That's right. The combat strength of this person with the Thunder Spirit root is much higher than those with the same cultivation level. Even if Yin Qingqing releases her whatever claw, she'll definitely lose. She's the same. Why didn't she just apologize and admit defeat just now? She wants to save face and suffer. I'm afraid she's going to die this time. Behind the crowd, Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu's expressions were a little serious. This little trash was definitely going to die. Should they make a move to protect her little life later? Although this little girl was a little trash, she was the only child of the primal institution. It was a pity that she was killed just like that. Chu Feng's eyes flashed, and he began to squeeze into the crowd. No matter what, protecting the little girl's little life was more important. It wasn't that he felt sorry for this little girl, but the main thing was that the little girl was still making a bet with him. He was still waiting to see this little girl make a fool of herself. Seeing this, Zhuang Mu also began to squeeze into the crowd. Qichen curled his lips, but did not stop them. He followed the 2 of them and squeezed into the crowd. The people who were pushed aside by the 3 of them were naturally unhappy. Just as they were about to open their mouths and curse, they were scared stiff by Chu Feng's terrifying gaze. How could they still curse? Chapter 5966. Courting death. When the 3 of them squeezed to the front, Yin Chujio and Yui were already entangled in a fight. Yin Chujio still did not release her spiritual beast. She only relied on the occasional fireballs and movement techniques to fight with Yui and his spiritual lion. The result was obvious. Yin Chujio was forced into a sorry state and kept retreating. Yui seemed to have guessed that Yin Chujio wanted to find an opportunity to jump off the competition stage. He did not give her a chance to get close to the edge of the competition stage. Hei Xinjiu was so angry that she kept cursing Yui in her heart for being struck by lightning. Unfortunately, her jinx skill could only be triggered when she was unintentionally cursing, so it was useless to curse her deliberately. Yui saw that Yin Chujio was in a dangerous situation because of him. Seeing that she was about to lose, he said ferociously, Yin Qingqing, you're dead for sure today. I heard that you and that dead Beiyu are a couple, so we'll send you down to keep him company. I don't know if that Beiyu is blind, but he actually fell for an ugly and useless bitch like you. He's such a stupid person. He deserves to die. It's the life of a short-lived ghost. Hei Xinjiu immediately narrowed her eyes. Her eyes were filled with killing intent. Originally, she just wanted to find an opportunity to jump off the competition stage. But this Yui actually used a gigolo as an excuse. He was really courting death. If he had other spiritual roots, she really did not have much confidence. But Thunder spiritual roots, he courting death. Her aura suddenly became fierce. However, this guy did not forget to add drama for her at this time. He said with a righteous face, Yui, you insulted my brother Beiyu. You really deserve to die. I am the only student left in the 10 Directions Academy. Even if I have to risk my life to enter the top 10 and protect the honor of the 10 Directions Academy, I will fight it out with you. As Yin Chujio said this, she took out a treasured sword and thrust it directly at Yui's palm wind. It was actually a fighting style where both sides were injured. Yui did not expect Yin Chujio to use such a fighting style that did not care about her life. She did not care about her life, but he did. Therefore, he stepped back sideways and commanded his spiritual mad lion to block Yin Chujio's treasured sword. Yin Chujio's treasured sword stabbed the spiritual mad lion's body, and she was also grabbed by the spiritual mad lion's claw on her left shoulder. Almost instantly, Yin Chujio's left shoulder bled, but she did not retreat. She jumped up and stabbed the sword in her hand at the wild lion's left eye. The wild lion also had intelligence. It was also the first time it saw someone fight so recklessly. After being stunned for a moment, Yin Chujio stabbed it in the left eye, and its figure immediately dimmed. The wild lion immediately reached out its claws to grab Yin Chujio, who had yet to land on the ground. Although Yin Chujio avoided most of the wild lion's attacks from an extremely tricky angle, however, her back was still scratched by the wild lion. Immediately, her entire back was dyed red with blood. The moment Yin Chujio landed on the ground, Yui threw a palm at her. The palm, which was full of thunder and spiritual power, had a thunderous momentum. It was too late for Yin Chujio to dodge it even if she wanted to. The palm wind really hit her body. She was sent flying several feet away, and almost fell down to the bottom of the competition stage. Chu Feng frowned. If he continued to fight, the little waist's life would be in danger. He was about to go up the stage to stop the competition, but the little waist actually stood up, wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and said proudly, "Again, as long as I don't die, I will fight you to the death to protect the honor of the 10 Directions Academy." As Yin Chujio said this, she held the sword and went straight to Yui again. Chapter 5967. Pride cannot be abandoned. Everyone was shocked when they saw Yin Chujio, who was covered in blood, rushing towards Yui and the wild spiritual lion again and again. Especially the people from the 10 Directions Academy. They did not expect that Yin Qingqing, whom they usually looked down on, would risk her life for the honor of the academy. They were both ashamed and respectful. Even Chancellor Run and the others, who usually disliked Yin Chujio, could not bear it. President Gu suddenly stood up and wanted to stop the competition. Even if he lost this competition, he could not let a good student like Yin Qingqing lose her life. President Yu was also quite shocked. He did not expect that Yin Qingqing had such a backbone and responsibility. Not to mention other things, just this alone was worthy of praise. He saw that President Gu wanted to stop the competition, so he did not stop him. Although it was inevitable that people would die during the competition, it was not necessary to cause death. He was happy to give her a favor. At this moment, President Gu saw Chu Feng, who was below the competition stage, shaking his head at him. President Gu then saw the 3 old men standing side by side below the stage. Previously, his attention was on the competition stage, so he did not notice when these 3 ancestors came over. However, since this ancestor did not allow him to interfere, he naturally had his reasons. Moreover, if Yin Qingqing was in danger, with them present, he could also stop her in time. Only then did President Gu return to his seat. However, when he thought of the 3 ancestors standing below the stage, he felt as if he was sitting on pins and needles, so he simply stood up again. At this time, President Yu also saw the ancestor of his academy and quickly stood up. President Run and the others did not know the 3 old men. When they saw President Gu and President Yu stand up, they thought they were attracted by the competition. However, since the 2 presidents stood up, it was not easy for them to sit down, so they also stood up. At this moment, Yin Chujio could be described as a bloody person. Her clothes were completely soaked in blood. In fact, this guy could have found an opportunity to kill Yui. But in order not to expose too many flaws, and to consolidate his heroic image of fighting to the death for the honor of the academy, he had dragged it out until now. Although it hurt a little, but it could also absorb more power of lightning, so it was not a loss. Yui was shocked by her reckless fighting style, and his face was pale and regretful. He might as well let her find an opportunity to jump off the competition stage. Her desperate fighting style was really difficult to deal with, and how could her life be so hard? Chapter 5968. Proud and unyielding Chu Feng felt that his blood, which had been calm for thousands of years, was boiling again. It had been a long time since he had such a proud and unyielding student in the Academy of 10 Directions. Just such a proud and unyielding character was enough to become Chu Feng's disciple. So what if his aptitude wasn't good? He had all kinds of heavenly materials and earthly treasures. No matter how useless she was, her aptitude could still be improved. It was hard to find a disciple with good aptitude, but it was hard to find such a proud and responsible student in the world. Qichen was also quite shocked. This little trash had a kind of ruthlessness. With this ruthlessness and the training of these two old fogies, she would definitely have a good future in the future. However, even so, she might not win this competition. After all, most of the time, she still had to rely on strength to speak. When Yui saw that Yin Chujio was unwilling to admit defeat, the crowd started to clamor again. He could not help but become angry out of humiliation. Yin Qingcheng, since you don't know how to appreciate kindness, then accept your death. He once again released the wild lion of spirit energy and waved his palm to attack Yin Chujio. Yin Chujio felt that it was almost time. Killing intent flashed in her eyes as she thrust her sword straight towards Yui's front heart. Yui naturally would not sit still and wait for his death. As he dodged, he commanded the wild lion of spirit energy to block Yin Chujio. However, he did not expect that Yin Chujio would actually face the wild lion of spirit energy and pass through the wild lion of spirit energy. The treasured sword in her hand ruthlessly pierced into his heart. Yui's eyes were wide open. He did not dare to believe his own eyes. Did this Yin Qingqing not want to live anymore? Her entire body passed through the wild lion. This meant that almost all of the thunder and spirit energy, contained in the wild lion's spirit energy, had actually attacked her body. This was a completely destructive fighting style. Yui's thoughts did not last long. The intense pain made him faint. Yin Chujio was about to stab him again, when she caught sight of three old men from the corner of her eyes. One of the old men who looked unfamiliar had already raised his right hand. With a thought, she kicked Yui off the competition stage. After she had done this, she sat down on the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood. The scene was dead silent. Yin Chujio touched the ground with her sword and struggled to stand up. She had to rely on the sword to support herself. She glanced at the crowd below the. Even if my cultivation is 5 levels lower than his, even if my physical strength is weak, I won. Who said that the 10-Directional Academy has declined? Who said that the 10-Directional Academy has failed? Even if our aptitude is ordinary, and even if our skills are temporarily inferior to others, the people of the 10-Directional Academy have hot blood flowing in our bodies, and our hearts are beating with unyielding ambition. As long as our hearts don't give up, and as long as our souls are still alive, the 10-Directional Academy will forever be worthy of the title of the most outstanding academy in the Divine Enlightenment continent. Yin Chujio fell to the ground with a bang when she said this, but the sword was still standing on the stage, as if it was her unyielding will, and as if it was her powerful words. President Gu was the first to run forward. His trembling hands went to check Yin Chujio's breathing. Seeing that her life was not in danger, he let out a long breath and quickly fed her a high-quality healing pill. He got someone to carry her back to her residence to be treated. After knowing that Yin Chujio's life was not in danger, everyone burst into thunderous applause. They admired Yin Chujio from the bottom of their hearts. This kind of admiration had nothing to do with cultivation level or status. It was only because her words and actions shocked them and let them see that there was such a proud woman in the world. Chapter 5969's final, ranking the unconscious Hei Shinjio, was elated when she heard the thunderous applause from the crowd. Not only did she absorb a bit of the power of the lightning, but she also set herself up as a responsible and proud person. It was simply killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Xu Feng and Zhuang Mu ignored Qichen when they saw Yin Chujio being carried away, and ran away as well. Qichen's nose was almost crooked from anger. He looked at Yui, who was being treated, and turned around to leave. He was also shocked by Yin Chujio's fighting style, but Yui had a rare thunder spirit root. It was a pity that he died like this, so he was prepared to go on stage to save her. However, he did not expect that little trash to not kill him. He only kicked Yui off the stage. It seemed that this little trash was not that ruthless. Although she had killed Guan Zijie and Duanli, it was probably because they had angered her. Otherwise, she would not have had the intention to kill him. Although the little trash's talent was ordinary, it had to be said that he was really responsible and had a proud character. No wonder the two old fogies were so anxious to catch up. However, so what? Although that little trash entered the top 10, he was seriously injured and could not continue the competition. He could only be counted as the 10th place in the spiritual power competition. The top 9 were all students of the Divine Enlightenment Academy. They were definitely going to crush the 10 Directions Academy. However, why did they feel that the 10 Directions Academy was more showing their face this time? President Gu and President Yu saw that the 3 elders had left one after another. They knew that they did not want to expose their identities, so they could not go down the stage to chase after them. Moreover, there were still a lot of things to deal with here, so it was not good for them to leave. President Gu, what do you think about the next competition? President Yu looked at President Gu with a complicated expression. He had to admit that even if the 10 Directional Academy was completely defeated by the Divine Enlightenment Academy in the 100-year competition this time, just based on Yan Qingcheng's previous heroic performance, it could also win back a lot of face for the 10 Directional Academy. Yan Qingcheng can no longer participate in the competition, even if she is ranked 10th. President Gu said lightly. President Gu was worried about Yan Chujia's injuries and wanted to go back to take a look. Moreover, he knew that Yan Chujia was seriously injured and could not continue the competition. President Yu pursed his lips in his heart. What did he mean by saying that she was ranked 10th? It was as if she could beat the others without. However, since President Gu said so, he naturally would not object. He directly told the host of the decision of the 2 people. The host announced the results of the competition. As for the rankings of the other 9 people, they were all from the Divine Enlightenment Academy, so there was no need to decide who was better. The first round of the spiritual power competition ended in such a muddle-headed manner. When the onlookers heard the results announced by the host, they immediately discussed among themselves. In my heart, Yan Qingcheng is the first place. The rest of them just won by lying down, okay? Some of them did not even have a match, so why are they ranked ahead of Yan Qingcheng? That's right. Excluding the previous match with Guan Zijie, Yan Qingcheng defeated Xiong Wang, Duanli Fan Luyan, and Yu Yi in a row. Can anyone else do that? What you said makes sense. Putting everything else aside, I'm afraid they can't even hold on physically. The Divine Enlightenment Academy only has more people. It's really unfair to win shameless. Yes, it's really shameless. If you have the ability, wait until Yan Qingcheng's body recovers to continue the competition. I don't think any of the remaining people are a match for Yan Qingcheng. Isn't that right? Not only does Yan Qingcheng have pride, but she's also lucky. Even Heavenly Thunder helped her. 4969039. The people of the Divine Enlightenment Academy were so angry when they heard these discussions. Didn't Yan Qingcheng defeat Yu Yi in a way that hurt both of them? What was so great about it? Moreover, their 10 Directions Academy was not powerful enough. So in the end, only Yan Qingcheng was left. What did this have to do with the Divine Enlightenment Academy? Now they were just taking advantage of the situation. Was there such an unfair thing in this world? However, they could not argue with these stupid people, so they could only sulk. President Yu naturally heard the discussions of the crowd and almost spat out a mouthful of blood. This time, the Divine Enlightenment Academy clearly had the advantage, but they were scolded for being unfair and shameless. How could they be reasonable? President Gu did not expect the public opinion to be so favorable to the 10 Directional Academy. This was all thanks to Yan Qingcheng. If it were not for her, the people of the 10 Directional Academy would be so ashamed that they would not be able to raise their heads. Thinking of this, President Gu was not in the mood to chat with President Yu and the others. He hurriedly brought his people back to their place of residence. President Gu did not return to his own courtyard. He went straight to Yan Chujia's room. Chancellor Run and the others looked at each other and followed closely behind. Although they did not like that little girl in the past, this matter had really shocked them. Moreover, if it was not for her, the 10 Directions Academy would not have been able to maintain their reputation. Naturally, they should go and visit her. After the crowd knocked on the door and entered, they saw Ding Wenru standing at the side with red and swollen eyes. Yin Qingqing was lying on the bed with a pale face. Perhaps the sound of the crowd entering had startled her. She opened her eyes with great effort and looked at President Gu. Her small face revealed some shame. President, I'm really useless. I can't continue to compete. Hearing her words, President Gu almost burst into tears. At this time, this little girl was still thinking about bringing honor to the academy. What kind of responsibility was this? President Run and the others were also shocked. It seemed that they had really misjudged this little girl in the past. Although her cultivation was a little low, her nature was still good. Just this kind of responsibility and pride was 100 times better than the other students. Only Vice-Chancellor Xiao lowered his eyes and pursed his lips in his heart. This bunch of stupid humans. President Gu collected his emotions and said, "You have done well. You are the only student in the top 10 of our 10 Directions Academy. When you return to the academy will give you a corresponding reward to commend your spirit of not caring about the glory of the academy." Yin Chujia's little face blushed. "You really don't blame me for not living up to my expectations?" Seeing her like this, President Gu felt that this little girl was very rare. Even her character as a troublemaker became a little cuter. He gave her a few more words to recuperate well before leaving with Chancellor Run and the others. After President Gu and the others left, Hei Xinjia's pale face immediately returned to normal. She glanced at Ding Wenru, whose eyes were red and swollen. "Sister Ding, it's a good thing that your eyes are swollen from crying for Nangong Shi. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to act so realistically." Ding Wenru was both embarrassed and angry. She scolded, "Just lie down and recuperate. Although you are fine, the blood on your body is not fake. Is there something wrong with your brain?" Ding Wenru was really frightened when she first saw Hei Xinjiu, who looked like a bloody man. She was only relieved when she saw Hei Xinjiu secretly winking at her. 496903339 Yin Chujiu sighed. "I didn't have a choice. I was forced to that extent, so I had no choice but to go all out. Moreover, after suffering such a small injury, it was worth it to make people look at me in a new light." Sister Ding, you weren't at the scene. The cheers from those people were like a tsunami. The way they looked at me was simply worshipping me. Ding Wenru looked at Hei Xinjiu, who was boasting so much. She was speechless. Forget it. It seemed like nothing had happened to her. However, it was true. Previously at Janggu River, this guy had been struck by lightning even worse than this. In the end, he was fine. He was a pervert. On the other side, President Gu returned to his courtyard and saw Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu circling in the study. Seeing him enter, he hurriedly asked, "Is that little trash all right?" President Gu cursed in his heart. Since he was so concerned, why didn't he go and take a look himself? However, he still told the truth about Yin Chujia's situation. Although she suffered some serious external injuries, fortunately, her internal organs were not injured. After recuperating for a period of time, she will be fine. Only then did Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu's expressions ease up a little. Chu Feng tried to cover it up and said, "Don't misunderstand me. I'm not concerned about that little trash. I'm just asking casually." Previously, they had hurriedly followed Yin Chujiu back. They had wanted to go in to check on Yin Chujia's injuries, but they felt that they couldn't bring themselves to do so. In the end, they didn't go in. President Gu was already used to seeing these two people's love for face. If it were not for them wanting to lose face, the Primeval Academy would not have fallen to such a state. Thinking about it carefully, Yin Qingcheng's words made sense. The reason why the 10-Directional Academy had lost more than they won in the 100-year competition recently was because these two were the main culprits. If they were willing to maintain the Primeval Academy's teaching, the 10-Directional Academy would not be so passive. Of course, he only dared to think about these words and definitely did not dare to say them out loud. Xu Feng coughed dryly and asked, "What is the final result of today's spiritual power competition?" After hearing President Gus' result, Xu Feng and Zhuang Mu did not raise any objections. After all, that little trash was already injured to such an extent. Even if the spiritual power competition continued tomorrow, she would not be able to go on stage. If it wasn't for that little trash's performance in the spiritual power competition, our two old faces would have nowhere to go. How are the preparations for the talisman competition tomorrow? It can't be that embarrassing, right? Xu Feng asked unhappily. According to the Talisman Division's director Zhao, Jianziyu's strength isn't bad, and Ji Lingfeng's strength isn't bad either. It wouldn't be a problem for the two of them to enter the top 10. If they perform well, it's possible for Jianziyu to enter the top 3, or even the first place. Xu Feng nodded. The uncertainty of the Talisman Seal competition was much greater than the spiritual power competition. If the difference in strength wasn't too great, it would be hard to say who would win in the end. Although the final result might still be a loss, a better appearance would still allow Qi Chun to restrain himself. Since that's the case, make good arrangements. We still have matters to attend to. After saying that, Xu Feng did not wait for President Gu to speak, and directly left with Zhuang Mu. President Gu gave a wry smile. After a short rest, he summoned Chancellor Run and the others to discuss the next day's competition. There were only 16 people from the 10 Directions Academy who had entered the second round of the competition. Counting their fingers, they could at most choose 5 people to participate in the Talisman Seal competition. They could only place their hopes on Jianzhiyu and Ji Lingfeng. 49690-339. For the sake of prudence, President Gu had specially called Jianzhiyu and the others into the study room to mobilize them. Jianzhiyu heard that President Gus' words were all about Yin Qingcheng. In the end, he even called on them to learn from Yin Qingcheng and strive to obtain good results in the talisman competition tomorrow. Jianzhiyu did not show it on the surface, but in his heart, he was very dissatisfied. He secretly gritted his teeth. What was so great about that Yin Qingcheng? She was just fishing for fame. That bitch did not have the backing of Beiyu, so she naturally had to find a way out for herself. That was why she took the risk to do so. It was simply not as good as what she had said. Moreover, she was only ranked 10th in the spiritual power competition. What was there to brag about? She could easily enter the top 10 in the Talisman Seal competition tomorrow. She might even be able to obtain first place. By then, who would still remember that trash? She would be the one to be praised. Ji Lingfeng was also very dissatisfied with President Gus' praise for Yin Qingcheng. That Yin Qingcheng was just lucky. If it wasn't for Guan Zijia and the others being unlucky, how would she be able to gain the limelight? She was only in 10th place. Tomorrow, his radiance would surpass hers. The other 3 did not have any other thoughts. They knew their own limits. They were just accompanying the Crown Prince to study. They could not enter the top 10. It was just a formality. The next morning, the people from the 10 Directions Academy arrived at the square again. Of course, Nangong Shi and He Xinjiu, who were seriously injured, did not come. Ding Wenru was supposed to take care of He Xinjiu, so she naturally did not come. After President Yu and President Gu met, they smiled and exchanged pleasantries in their hearts. President Gu, speaking of which, your performance in the talisman competition is not too bad. I'm looking forward to your performance today. President Yu said with a fake smile. President Gu said indifferently, I'm also looking forward to it. After all, there are many variables in the talisman competition. Maybe there will be a surprise. President Yu pursed his lips in his heart. Surprises? Unless another Yin Qingqing popped up, the 10 Directions Academy would still be completely crushed. While the 2 presidents were bickering here, the students had already started to register. Jianzhiyu and Ji Lingfeng had gone to register early. Their faces were full of confidence. Although there were a few people from the Divine Enlightenment Academy who were on par with them, and there were even 2 who were slightly stronger than them, it was still uncertain who would win in the end. Seeing that no one else had registered, The host let the contestants who were participating in the talisman competition go on stage. There were only 5 pitiful people from the 10 Directions Academy, whereas there were a total of 15 people from the Divine Enlightenment Academy. Just the number of people alone was a lot more than the 10 Directions Academy. Naturally, the onlookers could not help but discuss. I think the 10 Directions Academy has really declined. Putting aside the others, the number of people who entered the second round is too little, right? That's right. If it wasn't for that Yin Qingcheng who gave the 10 Directions Academy face, the 10 Directions Academy would have been completely wiped out in the spiritual power competition yesterday. Speaking of Yin Qingcheng, that little girl is really admirable. She's so heavily injured. I reckon she'll be lying on the bed for a long time. How pitiful. Just as the crowd was discussing, there was a commotion behind them. Someone shouted, make way, Yin Qingcheng is here. Right, quickly make way, don't squeeze the little girl and get injured. Poor thing, she's injured like this. Yet she still came to cheer for the 10 Directions Academy. What a good student. 4969039. Everyone hurriedly opened a path and saw 2 guards carrying a soft couch over. A little girl was sitting on top of it. Her face was pale and without a trace of blood. Who else could it be but Yin Qingcheng? Ding Wenru followed behind the soft couch. Seeing that everyone was voluntarily giving way, she finally believed Yin Chujia's words. It seemed that Qingcheng wasn't bragging. It was clear that this guy's performance yesterday was very successful. Hei Xinjiu insisted on coming over. Although Ding Wenru didn't know what kind of tricks this guy had up his sleeves, she couldn't dissuade her. She could only find 2 guards to carry her and follow her. As for Nangongshir's side, the situation had already stabilized. It wasn't a big deal, so she wasn't too worried. Just as she was thinking about it, someone took the lead and started clapping. In an instant, the square was filled with thunderous applause. The applause was mixed with praises such as, Yin Qingcheng, you're great, and Yin Qingcheng, good job. Hei Xinjiu blushed and cupped her hands at the crowd to thank them for their praise. Seeing her like this, the crowd's impression of her increased. She was not only responsible and proud, but also approachable. What a good girl. On the stage, Jian Zhuyu gnashed her teeth in hatred. Today was the day for her to show her skills. What was this damn Yin Qingcheng doing here? She must have come here on purpose to fish for fame. It was really detestable. President Gu did not expect Yin Chujiu to come, but as the president of the academy, it was not appropriate for him to go down the stage and ask her. He thought to himself that this little girl was lively and active, so she could not stay in the room, so she came to watch the show. However, he didn't expect the 2 guards to carry Yin Chujiu directly to the registration place. President Gu frowned. Could it be that Ding Wenru wanted to register? But Ding Wenru didn't enter the second round? Just as he was puzzled, he saw the 2 guards carry the soft couch along the steps of the competition stage onto the competition stage, while Ding Wenru returned to the stands. President Gu was dumbfounded. What the hell? Could it be that Yin Qingcheng was going to participate in the talisman competition? What kind of joke was this? Putting aside whether or not she knew how to carve jade talismans, just the injuries on her body alone would not be enough to allow her to complete the talisman competition. Wasn't this a joke? After the 2 guards put down the soft couch, they directly went down the stage. Everyone present was dumbfounded. Did Yin Qingcheng want to participate in the talisman competition? The host coughed dryly and said, Yin Qingcheng, are you going to participate in the talisman competition? Yin Chujiu sat on the soft couch and said in a weak but firm voice, Yes, I want to participate in the talisman competition. Although I don't have any talent in talisman, things are hard to predict. Maybe I will be the one who will compete in today's competition. President Gu of the Academy taught us that even if we knew that we might fail, we should still be brave enough to try. So, I'm prepared to give it a try. Besides, 1 more person means 1 more power. I'm willing to contribute more for the Academy. Although President Gu did not remember when he had said something so good, he still nodded unconsciously. Other things aside, this Yin Qingcheng was truly thinking for the Academy. He did not know what He Xingjie was thinking. He Xingjie wanted to cling onto Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu's legs, so she naturally had to perform more. Once she became Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu's disciple, even if her true identity was revealed, the 10 Directions Academy would still protect her. Moreover, she had to use the two of them to come into contact with the 10,000 Buddha sacred palace. (4969039). Although the host felt that Yin Chujia would not be able to complete the competition in her current state, since she had already registered, he could not chase her away, so he could only read out the rules of the competition. The competition was divided into 2 rounds. The top 10 in the first round would advance to the second round, and the final ranking would be determined in the second round. Following that, the host announced the competition items for the first round. Later, a staff member will give you a few jade talisman fragments. You will reassemble them. The time limit is 4 hours. According to the precise number of jade talisman fragments, the top 10 will advance, and the rest will be eliminated. None of the contestants had expected that the first round would be such a competition. Wasn't this too simple? After all, they knew how to carve, so assembling them was a piece of cake. However, when they saw that there were thousands of jade talisman seal fragments in front of them, their expressions changed. Not only were there a lot of these jade talisman seal fragments, but many of them were very similar. It was 100 times more difficult than carving jade talisman seals. To successfully piece 5 jade talisman seals in 4 hours was probably the limit. It was too difficult. After the host announced the start, everyone began to search frantically. Unfortunately, the number of fragments was too many and too similar. They were so anxious that they were sweating profusely and had no idea what to do. There were even some people who directly spread the talisman fragments on the ground. Fortunately, the competition stage was big enough. Otherwise, these contestants would definitely fight over the territory. Compared to the others, Jian Zhuyu was still relatively calm. She was not in a hurry to make a move. Instead, she deduced the type of talisman from the fragments that had the most similarities. If she could guess the type of the final talismans, it would be much easier to find the pieces. There were a few other contestants who shared the same thoughts as Jian Zhuyu. Compared to the headless flies, they were much more relaxed. While everyone was busy, He Xingjie took out a porcelain bottle, poured out a bunch of pills and swallowed them. She said in a low voice, "I'll take some pills first." Hiss. The wound is too painful. I can only take some pills to suppress it. Many people heard her mumbling to herself. They could not help but sigh. This little girl had really done her best for the 10 Directions Academy. After eating the pills, He Xingjie took out a walking stick from her storage ring. She staggered to her feet and walked to her desk. It was a pity that after standing for a short while, she looked exhausted and collapsed on the soft couch again. Everyone shook their heads. Although Yin Qingcheng's spirit was commendable, judging from her appearance, she probably could not even complete a jade talisman, let alone enter the second round. Therefore, there were some things that could not be done by heart. One had to do it according to one's ability. Chu Feng and the other 2 appeared behind the crowd again and looked at the competition on the stage. The 3 of them were talisman seals masters, so they were not interested in this kind of simple competition. Therefore, they only glanced at it occasionally, and the rest of the time they were bickering. Chu Feng, I see that your 10 Directions Academy is going to embarrass themselves again today. TSK, I'm embarrassed for you. Why are you getting worse and worse? Old fart, if you don't know how to speak, then don't say it. What do you mean you're going to embarrass yourself again? Our 10 Directions Academy was in the limelight yesterday. Chu Feng retorted in a bad mood. Chi-Chen curled his lips. Tisk, forget it. If it wasn't for that little girl Yin Qingcheng, you guys would have lost a lot of face. However, that Yin Qingcheng won't be able to save your 10 Directions Academy today. That look of hers can only be considered as being in high spirits. In reality, she's just going up to cause trouble. 4969039. You old fart. You only know how to spout nonsense. Or did the little girl add to the mess? Chu Feng shouted with his eyes wide open. Chi-Chen once again curled his lips. Where did I spout nonsense? Look at that little girl. She even had trouble standing up, let alone splicing jade talisman seals. It doesn't seem like she's here to participate in the competition, but rather, she's here to sensationalize. You're the one who's sensationalizing. At your age, have you lived to be a dog? To actually slander a junior like this, you old fart. Chu Feng's spirit was twitching. If it wasn't for the fact that he was in public, he would have directly attacked. Chi-Chen coldly snorted. I slander her? I'm just speaking the truth. Don't tell me you still think that little trash can pass the first round. Of course. Chu Feng roared. To be honest, he really didn't have the confidence to challenge Chi-Chen. However, he was forced to this extent, so he could only force himself to say this. Alright, since you're so confident, how about we make a bet? If little trash can pass the first round, it'll lose 3 Jade Sky tokens to you. On the other hand, if the little trash can't pass, you'll give me a Phoenix Marrow cleansing pill. Do you dare to bet? Chi-Chen said provocatively. Chu Feng immediately choked. The Jade Sky token was a high-grade material for carving high-grade jade talisman seals. It was very rare. He had always wanted to get a few from Chi-Chen, but he had never been able to do so. The Phoenix Marrow cleansing pill was refined from 81 heaven-grade herbs. It was very precious. Chi-Chen had many ideas about this Phoenix Marrow cleansing pill, but he had never succeeded. This bet could be said to be very big. The problem was, no matter how he thought about it, he felt that this was a bet that he would definitely lose. Don't look at how he kept arguing with Chi-Chen. But his heart was really uncertain. That little trash had only entered the upper house for a few months, and had only attended a few talisman lessons. How could he pass the first round of the test? Not to mention that she was seriously injured, and it was difficult for her to stand up. It was impossible for her to succeed. Zhuang Mu, who was at the side, also gave Chu Feng a look, telling him not to agree. After all, there was no chance of winning this bet. Seeing this, Chi-Chen's tone was full of ridicule and disdain. What? You don't dare to agree? But that's also true. Your 10 Directions Academy is getting weaker and weaker. That little trash is also from your Primal Academy. Naturally, he doesn't have any ability. Chu Feng's face was red and his neck was thick as he roared. Humph. I'll agree to it. When the time comes, don't go back on your word. Chu Feng thought painfully in his. If he lost, he wouldn't lose. No matter what, he couldn't let Chi-Chen look down on him. Even if he lost a Phoenix Marrow cleansing pill, he would have to find other things to make up for it in the future. Seeing that he had agreed, Chi-Chen immediately revealed a smug look. Good, a gentleman's words cannot be taken back. I'm just waiting to receive the pill. Chu Feng roared without much confidence. HMPH, it's not certain who will win. Zhuang Mu, who was at the side, shook his head repeatedly. He reckoned that Chu Feng would definitely lose this bet. Unless there was a miracle, it was impossible for that little trash on the stage to pass the first round of the assessment. Time passed quickly, and 2 hours passed very quickly. The progress of the contestants were all different. Most of the contestants had successfully pieced together a jade talisman seal, while Jian Zhuyu, who was slightly more skilled, had pieced together 2 jade talisman seals. As for the prideful a certain Jiao, she stood up, collapsed, stood up again, and collapsed again. Not to mention successfully piecing together a jade talisman seal, she had even accidentally knocked over the container containing the jade talisman seal fragments with her walking stick, causing them to be scattered all over the ground. Chapter 5976. I'll give you a bow. Jian Zhuyu saw the situation on Yun Chujia's side from the corner of her eye. She was pleased with herself. She had embarrassed herself, hadn't she? Damn it. Chu Feng saw He Xinjia's pathetic state, and could not help but feel a little regretful. If he had known earlier, he would not have spoken so confidently. Now, a Phoenix Marrow cleansing pill was going to be given to that old brat Chi-Chen. Another hour quickly passed. Most of the contestants had pieced together the second jade talisman seal. Jian Zhuyu and the others were already piecing together the fourth jade talisman seal. On He Xinjia's side, she continued to stand up and collapse. Occasionally, she would have to swallow a large number of pills to relieve the pain. Everyone shook their heads. Although this Yin Qingqing had good intentions, she was overestimating herself. Wasn't she asking for trouble? She would definitely hand in the blank papers in the end. Why bother? President Gu, your Jian Zhuyu and Ji Lingfeng are not bad. It's a pity that there are fewer of them. President Yu saw that at least 8 of the students from the Divine Enlightenment Academy could enter the second round. He could not hide the smug look on his face. President Gu had expected this, so he was not too angry. He said calmly, "We did not perform well in the first round of the 100-year competition, so we were more passive. However, there are many variables in the talisman competition. Although we may not have as many points as you, the first place is more important. It's not certain who will win." President Yu sneered in his heart. It was not certain who would win. The first place in both the total points and the individual points would belong to the Divine Enlightenment Academy. At this moment, the host on the stage reminded, there are still 15 minutes left until the end of the competition. The contestants must hurry up. Hearing that, the contestants sped up their movements. He Xinjiu revealed a panicked expression and said in a low voice, "It's over so quickly? I haven't even pieced one together yet. What should I do? I might as well just scratch a few pieces." Therefore, the audience watched in bewilderment as she struggled to stand up and used her walking stick to randomly pull out dozens of jade talisman seal fragments. Then, she used her crutches to randomly pull out the talisman seal fragments into 5 piles. After bowing, she began to mutter, "Heavenly spirit, earthly spirit, the heavens will bow to you. You must bless me to successfully advance." Everyone looked at He Xinjiu, who was mumbling like she was a lunatic. Could it be that Yin Qingqing's brain was not working because she was too heavily injured? She was just casually pulling and hoping to advance. What kind of joke was this? If this was possible, would the other contestants still need to put in so much effort? Qi Chen simply couldn't hold back his laughter. "Chu Feng Zhuangmu, this little trash of yours is really a clown. Chu Feng, you'd better prepare the Phoenix Marrow cleansing pill. You'll definitely lose the bet." Chu Feng's nose was almost crooked from anger. On one hand, he was angered by Qi Chen, and on the other hand, he was angered by He Xinjia's eccentric behavior. He thought to himself that he had originally wanted to take this little trash as a disciple, but now it seemed that this little trash's brain was probably not very good. It was better to take him as a disciple slowly. At this moment, there were only 15 minutes left until the end of the competition. He Xinjiu mumbled to herself for a long time. She stretched her neck and looked at the progress of the others. After swallowing a handful of pills, she asked the host, "Uncle, may I ask if these pieces that have been picked out can be stacked together? Or do we have to splice them into talismans?" The host looked at the porcelain bottle in her hand and said, "Other people need to splice them into talismans, but your situation is special. There's no need to splice them together. This will do." Chapter 5977. 0. The reason why the host said this was because he was certain that the jade talisman fragments that Yin Chujiu randomly picked out would not be able to be pieced together successfully. There was no need for him to waste his effort. After all, this Yin Qingqing seemed to be seriously injured. If she were to faint on the stage while piecing them together, it would be troublesome. Anyway, the judges would be able to see whether the pieces that were picked out could be pieced together successfully. There was no need for her to risk her life. Hearing that, Yin Chujiu immediately showed a grateful smile with a pale face. "Thank you, uncle. You are really a good person. If I can successfully advance, I will thank you very much." The host, who had been given a good person card, did not say anything more. However, she thought to herself, advance? It was simply a fool's dream. How could a good girl's brain not work? Could it really be the sequela of a serious injury? Very soon, the time for the competition to end was up. The host immediately made all the contestants stop what they were doing and retreat to the back of their respective tables, waiting for the judges to judge their results. Jianzhiyu looked at the 4 jade talisman seals on the table in front of her, with a smug look on her face. With her results, she would definitely be able to successfully advance to the next round. In fact, she had already completed more than half of the 5th jade talisman seal. It was just that time was up, and she had no choice but to give up. What a pity. She glanced at the 5 piles of fragments on the ground in front of Yin Chujio from the corner of her eyes, and sneered in her heart. This Yin Qingqing was really good at playing tricks. Did she think that she could advance, just by randomly pulling out 5 piles of fragments? What wishful thinking. The judges began to assess the results one after another. Some had successfully pieced together 2 or 3 pieces, while others had successfully pieced together 4 pieces like Jianzhiyu. However, the number of people who were able to piece together 4 pieces was not many. There were only 5 people who were able to do so. In the end, only He Xinjia's results had not been assessed. Those judges had been sitting on the competition stage to supervise these contestants. Therefore, they were very clear about how He Xinjiu had obtained the 5 piles of fragments in front of her. Therefore, they felt that there was no need to assess the results. If they were able to succeed with just a random pile of fragments, would the other contestants have to put in so much effort? Therefore, the few judges did not even look at Yin Chujia's 5 piles of fragments and directly gave the result of 0. Everyone was not surprised by this. After all, Yin Qingqing had used a walking stick to randomly draw, so of course, she would not succeed. Qichen laughed out loud. Qufeng, hurry up and give me the Phoenix Marrow Cleansing Pill. I told you that that little trash was there to cause trouble, but you didn't believe me. Now you've embarrassed yourself, right? Qufeng's face was ashen. On one hand, he felt sorry for the Phoenix Marrow Cleansing Pill that was about to be given out. On the other hand, he was secretly annoyed that Yin Chujio was causing trouble. He painfully took out a jade box from his storage ring. Inside was a porcelain bottle containing the Phoenix Marrow Cleansing Pill. The reason he did this was because he was afraid that the medicinal effect would be lost. After all, it was not easy to refine this Phoenix Marrow Cleansing Pill. Qichen's eyes lit up. Just as he was about to receive the jade box, he heard someone on the stage shout, "I refuse to accept this. I protest. I object. I'm wronged." Qufeng took the opportunity to put the jade box back into his storage ring. There seems to be a new change. Let's wait and see. Qichen curled his lips and didn't say anything. After all, he wasn't afraid that Qufeng would go back on his word. He raised his head to look at the stage and saw that little trash's face was filled with grievance and anger. His originally pale little face was flushed red from anger. "Judges, you didn't even look at my fragments carefully. What makes you think my score is 0? I beg God to bless me. I'm sure that these pieces can be pieced together successfully." Chapter 5978. 5 pieces. The same thought flashed through everyone's mind. This Yin Qingqing was most likely crazy. You begged the heavens to bless you, and the heavens protected you. The heavens were your father. If they simply begged the heavens to do whatever they wanted, they wouldn't need to do anything. They would just kowtow and bow. What was wrong with their brains? One of the judges with a goatee said with disdain, "Shan Yanghu, how did you pick out these fragments? Everyone has seen it. It's impossible to successfully piece them together. There's nothing impossible in this world. You didn't even look at it. How can you be sure that it wasn't successfully pieced together? Since you're the judges, you have to be fair and open. Even if I really didn't succeed in piecing them together, you still have to go through the process, right? In order to participate in this competition, I didn't care about my severely injured body. In order to stop the pain, I swallowed a few bottles of pills. You guys doing this really makes me feel disappointed." Yin Chujio said angrily and aggrievedly. The judge was Shan Yang, who wanted to say something else, but an even older judge said, "What she said makes sense. Although it's impossible for her to succeed, we still have to go through the procedure." Shan Yang, his judge, curled his lips and did not say anything. However, His disdainful gaze could not be more obvious. He walked in front of a pile of debris and casually used his feet to push the debris away. Then, he stood rooted to the ground as if he had been struck by lightning. The other judges did the same. They were all dumbstruck. The crowd did not understand. They were puzzled. Were these judges stupid? Why were they all in a daze? Chu Feng scratched his ears and cheeks anxiously. Unfortunately, he was too far away from the competition stage, and the referees had blocked the debris on the ground. He could not see the specific situation, even if he was anxious. However, he suddenly had a premonition. Could it be that the little trash had successfully pieced one piece together by chance? He did not dare to think of more pieces. After all, it was already good enough for this blind cat to meet a dead rat. The host saw that the referees were in a daze and could only go forward to ask, "Referees, may I know how many pieces Yin Qingcheng's score is?" The referees finally came to their senses and looked at the 5 piles of debris on the ground again. They still could not hide the shock on their faces. Shan Yang, who was the first to speak, "Impossible. This is impossible. It must be this Yin Qingcheng who cheated." Yin Chujio stood up from the soft couch in a flash, her face full of anger. "This referee, you can eat more food, but you can't speak carelessly. Which eye of yours saw me cheating?" Shan Yang, who was also too shocked. That was why he said what he said just now. Now that he was criticized by Yin Chujio, he immediately panicked, but he still said sternly, "If you didn't cheat, how did you manage to piece together 5 jade talisman seals? This is impossible. You must have cheated." The scene was dead silent at first, and then it exploded. What the hell? Did I hear wrong? Yin Qingcheng casually used her walking stick to piece together 5 jade talisman seals? Yeah, isn't this too unbelievable? Could it be that she really cheated? Cheated? It can't be. How could such a proud person like her cheat? Maybe it's really God's blessing. Yin Chujio looked at Shan Yanghu and said coldly, "The whole process of the competition was completed on the stage. So many pairs of eyes were watching. May I ask how I cheated?" Shan Yanghu said fiercely, "Humph. Maybe you replaced these jade talisman fragments. Otherwise, how could you successfully piece together 5 pieces?" Chapter 5979 was too outstanding. Replaced by me? This is a good way to cheat. This referee must have done this many times. However, these fragments should have marks, right? The referees might as well check if there is anything wrong. After Yin Chujio finished speaking, she swallowed a handful of pills and sat down on the soft couch again. The old judge saw Yin Chujio's flushed face and the beads of sweat on her forehead. He looked at Shan Yanghu unhappily. "Don't falsely accuse others without conclusive evidence." Shan Yanghu was very angry, but he didn't dare to say anything. He squatted down and looked at the talisman fragments. The other judges also started to look at the talisman fragments and didn't find anything unusual. Yin Chujio sneered and looked at Shan Yanghu. "This judge, is there a problem with these fragments?" Shan Yanghu gritted his teeth. "Even if there is no problem with these fragments, you did not advance by relying on your ability. It was just a blind cat meeting a dead rat." Yin Chujio curled her lips. "It doesn't matter if it's a blind cat or not. Being able to catch a rat is the key. No matter what, I advanced, didn't I?" Shan Yanghu was so angry that his face turned ashen. But there was nothing he could do. After the host received the approval of the few judges, he announced the names of those who had advanced in the first round. Yin Qingcheng was surprisingly ranked first. Jian Zhuyi was so angry that she almost bled. That trash had advanced so easily. She had advanced in just a few casual moves. And she even successfully pieced together 5 pieces? Those eliminated contestants were even more frustrated. They had pieced together for 4 hours. Yet they couldn't even compare to Yin Qingcheng's random patching. How could they endure this? Of course, there were also those who were happy, such as Chu Feng. Haha, haha, this little girl's luck is really out of this world. Old fart, hurry up and hand over the Jade Sky token to me. Chi Chen was both angry and pained. He unwillingly lost the 3 Jade Sky tokens to Chu Feng. He gnashed his teeth and said, "I think that Shan Yanghu is right. That little trash must have cheated. It's just that her cheating methods are more brilliant. so she wasn't exposed. TSK can't afford to lose, right? This little girl's luck is just that good. She's just so favored by the heavens. Do you have any objections? Aya, this jade sky token is really not bad. Today is really a good day, Chu Feng said smugly. Chen was so angry that his head was buzzing. He snorted coldly and said, "Do you dare to make another bet with me?" Bet on what? Bet on that little trash being ranked last in the second round, which is also the 10th place. Chu Feng rolled his eyes. No bet. He had learned from his mistake. It was better not to make such a loss-making deal. In any case, he had already obtained the 3 jade sky tokens. Seeing that he was not taking the bait, Chen provoked him and threw out tempting bait. However, Chu Feng learned his lesson this time and refused to take the bait. Chen was furious and could only give up. He gritted his teeth and said, "If you're not betting, then I'm not betting. In any case, that little trash will definitely be ranked last." Chu Feng looked at the jade pendant in his hand and grinned from ear to ear. Last place is nothing. At least she'll be in 10th place. This little girl is really too outstanding. Chen. At this moment, the second round of the competition was about to begin. Hei Xinjie was still sitting on the soft couch. This fellow was lively and active, so of course, she didn't want to lie down like this. But there was nothing she could do. Yesterday, she had suffered such a serious injury for the sake of her proud character. If she were to be active today, wouldn't she be exposed? Sigh, did this count as digging a hole for herself? Chapter 5980. Second round of the competition. As for Yin Chujio, did not openly display her ability in the first round. She had her own considerations. Firstly, she had never displayed her talisman talent in front of others before. If she were to rashly make a name for herself, it would inevitably lead to unnecessary guesses and trouble. Secondly, it was also to numb the crowd. After all, she had not finished reading the sheepskin scroll that Chu Feng had given her, so she did not know much about talismans. She could only catch them off guard and win by surprise. This fellow sighed in her heart. She also wanted to be awesome, but now that she was not satisfied with half a bottle, it was better not to be smug. Otherwise, the higher she went, the worse she would fall. Moreover, she deliberately wanted to set up the persona of Tian Dao's favorite, so it would be much more convenient in the future. After all, her cheap parents were still in the 10,000 Buddha's sacred hall. If she wanted to save them and not be labeled as a troublemaker, the persona of Tian Dao's favorite might come in handy. While Yin Chujio was pondering, the host was already announcing the rules of the second round of the competition. Everyone thought that the second round of the competition should be for everyone to carve jade talisman seals. After all, this was the simplest and most direct method of assessment. However, the rules of the second round of the competition were out of everyone's expectations. In order to increase the attractiveness of the competition, we will adopt a brand new method of competition for the second round of the competition. There are all kinds of questions in my lot barrel. Some are for carving jade talisman seals, some are for identifying jade talisman seals, and some are for common sense and so on. In each round, you will vote for one person to answer the questions. If he answers correctly, he will enter the safe zone. If he answers incorrectly, he will be directly eliminated. This will continue until the first place is decided. Now, I will give you 100 breaths to consider, but you are not allowed to discuss with each other. The onlookers were full of interest. This method was novel and interesting. There would be a good show to watch. President Gus' expression was not very good. Wasn't it obvious that they were bullying the 10 Directions Academy because they had fewer people? In the top 10, there were only 3 people from the 10 Directions Academy and 7 people from the Divine Enlightenment Academy. They would definitely choose Jian Zhuyu and the other 2 to answer the questions from the very beginning. It was not a big deal if they answered correctly, but if they answered incorrectly, they would be eliminated. Yin Qingqing would probably be the first to be voted out. After all, she was the most useless. Everyone in President Gu had the same thought. They felt that Yin Qingqing would definitely be the first to be voted out. The time of 100 breaths was soon up. Everyone began the first round of voting. To everyone's surprise, Jian Zhuyu was voted out in the end. Although Jian Zhuyu was a little surprised, she was quite confident in her talisman cultivation. She stepped forward and drew a question, answered it cleanly and correctly, and entered the safe zone. The second person voted out was Ji Lingfeng. His luck was not very good, and he drew a difficult question and was directly eliminated. Everyone thought that the third person to be voted out would definitely be Yin Qingcheng, but it was not the case. The person to be voted out was actually the Divine Enlightenment Academy's Dongfang Qian. Dongfang Qian was one of the 2 students with the best talisman cultivation in the Divine Enlightenment Academy. No one had expected that she would actually be chosen. Dongfang Qian also successfully entered the safe zone, but her expression was not very good. It was obvious that she had not expected to be voted out. He Xinjie was not surprised at all. People were selfish. Those people from the Divine Enlightenment Academy felt that she was not a threat, so it did not matter to keep her. They might as well vote out their competitors first. TSK. That was why it was necessary to pretend to be a pig to eat a tiger. Chapter 5981. She did not recognize it in the next few votes. Yin Chujia was still not voted out. She was still safe and sound in the team. Although many people did not understand, some people who had a clear mind could guess it. They sighed in their hearts. This Yin Qingqing was really lucky. Now that 2 people had been eliminated, she could at least get 8th place. Chu Feng was so regretful that his intestines turned green. If he had known earlier, he would have agreed to Qi Chen's bet. It was really a mistake. Qi Chen wiped off the cold sweat on his head. It was so close, so close. Fortunately, the old fool Chu Feng did not agree. Otherwise, he would have suffered a great loss. However, he was somewhat dissatisfied with the students of the Divine Enlightenment Academy on the stage. They did not have a sense of the big picture, and were all selfish. In this regard, they were not as good as that little trash from the 10 Directions Academy. Just look at that little trash fighting with his life for the honor of the academy. He was 100 times better than them. After a few rounds, only Yin Chujio and another contestant from the Divine Enlightenment Academy were left. He Xinjio said shamelessly, "This student, look at me. I even have trouble standing up. Show me your spirit of helping others. You go and answer the questions first." The contestant naturally did not agree. In the end, the 2 of them had to draw lots to decide the order. He Xinjio got the last lot as she wished. The contestant had no choice but to go up and answer the questions. Sadly, he was eliminated. He Xinjio immediately clapped her hands. Even if I can't answer the questions, I'm still in 7th place. It's like winning by lying down. The 3 people who were eliminated were almost angered to death by her. What did she mean by taking advantage and pretending to be good? She was, "Yin Qingcheng, draw the question you want to answer." The host said. Yin Chujio nodded and then muttered, "God, a good person will do it to the end. You helped me once before, so help me again." After muttering a few times, this guy finally drew a lot. After the host saw the question on the top, she took out a jade talisman from her storage ring and asked, "Please answer the name of this jade talisman." Yin Chujio's expression did not change, but she was complaining in her heart. This jade talisman knew her, but she did not know it. Could she continue to embarrass herself? If that was the case, wouldn't her character as the beloved son of Tian Dao be ruined? If that was the case, wouldn't the 2 old men despise her? What should they do? When everyone saw that she did not say anything, and was certain that she did not know this jade talisman, someone started to argue. If you don't know it, then quickly admit it. Don't waste everyone's time. Yeah, we are still waiting to see the next competition. If you don't recognize it, just tell us. 7th place is already not bad. Hurry up and come down. Yin Chujio was burning with anxiety. From the corner of her eyes, she caught a glimpse of the VIP seats. Suddenly, her heart moved and she quickly used her spiritual sense to say, "Little grasshopper, you dumbass, stop sleeping. Quickly help me ask Director Zhao, What is the name of this damn jade talisman? Director Xiaofu, who was sleeping secretly, was shocked. He quickly lowered his voice and asked Director Zhao. Director Zhao, what kind of talisman is that? It doesn't seem to be very common. It is indeed not very common. This is an ice-cold talisman. It is not an attack-type talisman, but a daily-type talisman. Some people use it to cool down. Director Zhao also lowered his voice and said. There was still some distance between the VIP seats and the competition venue. In addition, the venue was very noisy, so the two of them spoke in low voices. They were not afraid that others would say that they were cheating. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.